We be live. Shalom, 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 everyone.
Hello. Hello,
Hello.
hello.
Write shalom in the live chat, guys. How's our audio? How's the audio? Make sure you like the stream right now. Do it. Do it. Don't even think about it. You could take your like back at the end of the stream if you were not satisfied. You could do that. You could like right now, and then you're like, why should I like right now? This show might not be good. Well, you could take it back. Just
I
like
need
the
to speak
stream.
to your
Like it.
manager. I want a refund.
Yeah. Refund on my like. Yeah, guys, if you like at the beginning of the stream, YouTube will just go grab people and just grab them by the neck and then just brings them here. Okay, so just do that. Just force people, like, you have to watch this. There are too many people liking the stream for you not to watch this. This is important. Wait, I shouldn't be laughing. Our first news is kind of sad. Well, I mean, not kind of. It's very sad.
No, but we have to start the show, with some good energy,
Yes.
some high
Yeah.
energy. There's a lot of stuff we're going to
Yeah.
talk about today. And some of it is tragic, obviously. Some of it is like we're going to have some good segments, Armin, I think, where you're going to love unpacking some stuff for sure. And then we also have some very interesting news out of Saudi Arabia, which I don't think people would have expected. That when I told you about it, you're like, what?
Wait, which one? Let me see.
Oh,
Saudi.
okay. Well, then maybe
Let
I'll
me
leave
go
it a
to.
surprise to you as well.
Oh no! Now I remember which one, because I don't know which one you were referring to. But oh yes, that one's juicy. I hope people here on this chat, on our chat, like, would appreciate how juicy this is, because sometimes a lot of people are not, involved in these topics, and I'm like, okay, why is this shocking? But I think our audience is more aware and sophisticated on these topics. So I think our chat is going to be like, okay, what the f,
It's a little
especially
niche,
the
but
ex-Muslims.
it's so juicy.
It's a little bit what you got, Kai? It's a little bit
Niche. Like
niche.
it's a little
Yes,
niche, but it's,
yes,
you don't even need to understand that deep for you to be like,
right.
interesting.
Yeah, ex-Muslims would get it. Ex-Muslims would get it.
Yeah.
Okay, wow, yeah. So, what countries, what religions we're covering today?
Well, it's basically front to back Islam. We're also going to be talking about the sentencing of the Southport attacker. And because a lot more information has come out about that attack, and I thought it was worthwhile for us to kind of circle back and talk about that. Now that a lot more information has come out. And it was very interesting. There's been a lot more revealed about how authorities failed to prevent this attack. Still a lot of questions. But when I was doing my research, I was like, wow, this goes deep.
Right. Okay. So, by the way, guys, I know the first news. A lot of you already know what happened. So it's not about reporting the murder, the assassination. I think most of you here already know. It's about the conversations. It's reporting on the conversations surrounding this event. That's what we're here for. Okay. So
yeah.
And I know a lot of you wanted us to talk about this, and I already did a stream about it yesterday, regarding Ali Dawa's takes on it. So go watch that as well. But yeah, so we will tell people who are maybe not in the loop what's happening, and then we will go into some discussions about it that you might not hear in other places. And also, guys, super chats. We will read super chats in between news items. So please consider supporting the show with super chats, and we need it. This channel need it. But also remember, only support this channel financially if you are financially in a comfortable situation. Please do not support us financially if you are struggling. In that case, only like the stream. And also, don't like the stream if you're driving, because I got a message from somebody from Iran telling me, like, Armin, you keep shaming us for not liking, And then I'm driving while I'm listening to you. Like, what the hell? You're putting my life address. Okay, so
Okay, everyone can use their common sense and do it after the fact, dude. It's so funny. We've actually gotten quite a few videos of our audience in Iran showing us videos of how they're watching us in Iran while they're driving, especially in Tehran, because you spend so much freaking time driving in traffic.
Yeah.
I'm like, I guess I shouldn't be surprised. A lot of people are watching us in those circumstances. You spend so much of your time there.
Heavy Criminal is saying no dying while watching this stream. Yes, yes. We don't want any martyrs for atheism.
It is impermissible.
Yes. All right. So anything else before we get to the first story?
No, thank you all for being here. I'm excited. I think this is going to be a good show in general, even though we have to talk about some sad stuff.
Yes, and the first one obviously is not clappable, so no clapping. And first news.
First news: Quran burner Salwan Momika murdered in Sweden. Salwan Momika, the Iraqi refugee who sparked global fury by burning copies of the Quran in Sweden, met a violent end when he was shot dead in his apartment in, I have no idea how to pronounce the name of this place, I'm sorry, but on January 29th, while live streaming on TikTok. His provocative acts, including stomping on the Quran, wrapping it in bacon, and setting its pages ablaze, triggered mass protests, diplomatic crises, and even attacks on Swedish embassies. Now his murder has sent shockwaves through Sweden, with Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson warning, quote, "There is obviously a risk that there is a connection to a foreign power." Deputy Prime Minister Ebba Busch called the assassination a threat to our free democracy as Sweden scrambles to contain growing security concerns. With the nation's terrorism alert at its second highest level and tensions with the Muslim world still simmering, Momika's death has only deepened the divide over the limits of free speech and the price of provocation. So I mean, I don't even know where to start. I mean, I think a good place to start is to talk about the impact that Salwan had. And people might not understand or might not remember how his actions reverberated around the world. So when he started to do the Quran burnings in Sweden, this garnered international attention and caused diplomatic crises, like literal diplomatic crises, as Muslim majority countries around the world started to boycott Swedish goods. This triggered attacks on the Swedish embassy in Iraq. This also caused, I think it was because there was also some burnings in Denmark at the time. And then I think there was also an attack on the Danish embassy in Iraq. And then I think what's really important to consider is, and this is what I really want to talk about, because of his Quran burnings, Sweden began to consider actions to help curtail and prevent these kinds of events from happening. Sweden began to consider changing their laws to disallow this kind of activity. Sweden began to consider curtailing their freedom of expression because of the blowback and because of the threat of terrorism and because of the threat of violence and because there are millions of people around the world who would see this action and think that they are validated in their offense and taking out their feelings in a violent manner upon any Swede they should so come across. You know, like they didn't start to consider curtailing their free expression because, I don't know, people were upset that unicorns don't exist. They did it because there are millions of people that feel validated in murdering and butchering others, even if tangentially related, because Sweden as a nation has decided to allow their citizens to engage in this activity, whether or not the state agrees with it. And they were basically considering legal measures that would empower the police to deny permits to public gatherings if they pose a threat to national security. So again, this is, we've heard about the heckler's veto. I call this the terrorist's veto. And then, meanwhile, in Denmark, they actually did change their laws because of all this fallout. Denmark ended up passing a law in December of 2023 that bans the inappropriate treatment of religious texts. Denmark actually did implement laws to curtail their own freedom of expression because of the terrorist veto. Again, making it seem as if the person who is engaging in this act of free expression is the perpetrator, not the victim. Again, the terrorist veto. Meanwhile, the Danish authorities are like, oh no, criticism of religion and religious satire remains legal. You're just not allowed to do this to the Bible or the Torah or the Quran, blah, blah, blah. We're not stupid. We know this is not because of damage to the Bible. We know this is not because of damage to the Quran. Excuse me, the Torah. You do not see mass movements of Christians and Jews threatening the security of a nation because someone decided to destroy their own property. As long as it is their own property. Again, we have a phrase here in America because it's don't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining. They take us for a fool. And not only that, but we will remember the actions that the United Nations took because of Salwan Momika. This is how bad things are at the UN. On July 12th, 2023, the UN Human Rights Council adopted a resolution condemning all manifestations of religious hatred, explicitly referencing, quote, the public and premeditated acts of desecration to the Holy Quran. The resolution emphasized the necessity of holding those responsible accountable in accordance with international human rights law, and urged member states to implement legal frameworks to prevent and prosecute acts of religious hatred that incite discrimination, hostility, or violence. Again, specifically and explicitly referencing the public and premeditated acts of desecration of the Holy Quran. The United Nations Human Rights Council. This was voted in by a majority vote. And when that happened at the time, we covered this and we said, this is a horrible and dangerous precedent. And you want to know why this is a horrible and dangerous precedent? There are many, many reasons why. There are many, many reasons why. But one of them is that this validates the feeling of grievance that Muslims feel when someone burns or destroys or desecrates the Quran. And when validating grievance and then making changes to the laws to say that, oh no, by law, this is also unacceptable, that is validating their right to not be offended. It is validating their sense of grievance. and it validates the sense of this is wrong, this is unacceptable. I have to go take action against the person that did this. Now, it's obviously not as severe in places like Sweden and Denmark. I mean, in terms of the validation of what's on the books, but it is incredibly severe in places like Pakistan, where blasphemy actually is punishable by death, where the government validates the sense of grievance so grievous, so grave that it warrants death. But then the government of Pakistan doesn't enforce that death penalty on people who are accused of blasphemy. So the people feel like they have to take it upon themselves. Dude, I hope people see the problem here. To the point that there are studies that point that if you have blasphemy laws on the books, it actually may pose a national security concern. So I'm reiterating this to emphasize how far-reaching the impact of what Salwan Momika did, like how far-reaching his actions were. This went far beyond Sweden. This went far beyond his town. And obviously it put a large target on his back. Now, my understanding is that they arrested 5 men on suspicion of this murder. And that as of today or yesterday, those 5 suspects have been released from custody so far. If there are Swedish people in the live chat that have a more current update on what the status of the investigation is, please let me know. I mean, there's a lot more that I can say, and there's a lot more I will say, but I mean, Armin, I want to give you the chance to jump in.
No, I just want to really summarize what you said, and let me know. And I completely agree with it, and let me know if this is a good explanation of what you're saying. When people try to use violence and intimidation to get their way, if you do something to appease them, then you're going to get more violence and intimidation because you have signaled to them that it works. This is so basic, and I don't know why people don't understand this. It's just that simple. This is the reason why that you don't negotiate with terrorists, and this is also the reason why you don't negotiate with kidnappers, right? Because you don't want to. Because even if it saves that child that has been kidnapped at that time, you're signaling to other people that this is a money-making industry, for example.
You're creating
so if you
incentives.
have a community, you're creating incentives. And this is why we're trying to explain to people why we insult the Quran or Muhammad. A lot of people think that we're just trying to piss off Muslims. We're not. And a lot of people think that this is because we're trying to convince people that Islam is wrong. No, we do something else for that. The point of blasphemy against Islam, so yes, it's good to try to convince people out of Islam, but when we blaspheme against Islam, that is not the tool for convincing people out of Islam. That is to show people, that is to make the method of violence and intimidation to signal to that community that this backfires, is to discourage more violence. A lot of people think like, oh, why would you burn the Quran or insult the Quran? Wouldn't that cause violence? No, you motherfucker. No, you idiots. Actually, not burning the Quran, not drawing the Muhammad when somebody threatens violence, that encourages violence. If somebody, when there's a threat of violence, you have to double down. You have to do it 1,000 more times so that eventually that community understands that, okay, this is not working. And we have shown time and time and again throughout history that if you want to see less violence, then this is the way. I mean, it's so basic. People are, if that method works, then they will do more of it. Isn't that simple? Like, that's the summary of it.
Basically.
Anyways, that's
not to mention the fact that I am under no obligation to show reference and deference to a God or a theology that I do not believe in. or one that I actually think has severe flaws that bring great pain and suffering to this world, let alone one that calls for the deaths of those who dissent and those who leave and those who are the other. I'm under no obligation to show reverence and respect for such an ideology. I don't know like what's so hard to understand about that. I don't live in a theocracy. Fuck you guys. Like I it's insulting to our intelligence. You know, people might have found what Salwan did provocative, but guess what he did? It was peaceful. Did he harm a single person while doing it? You know, it was his own property. Was he doing it in a way that was in people's faces? Yes, and sure, but he did it with the permission of the police. I think maybe there was a few times he didn't, but the vast majority of the time it was. Oh, not to mention the fact I forgot to mention that Salwan, on the day that he was murdered, I think it was the day he was supposed to go to trial because Sweden was prosecuting him for basically promoting hatred of a racial group. He was facing criminal charges for that. In what way, in what world does that make sense in any way, shape, or form? It doesn't make any
Which
sense.
racial?
Do
His own
Islam is
racial
not a
group?
racial group. Islam actually makes it explicitly clear that it is not racially bound. It's a universalizing religion. That's one of its strengths. You
I
know
mean,
what I
isn't
mean?
he an Arab himself?
Exactly. He's Iraqi. So who is he promoting enmity towards? Arabs? Well, I mean, he's an Arab. He's more than welcome to have criticisms of his own community and country of origin, as is everyone else. They are entitled to that. Is he promoting hatred of a different group of ethnic Muslims? Not to my knowledge. They were just trying to get him for something. They were trying to get him on something. And I don't know, it sickens me. I mean, obviously it's sickening. No one needs to repeat that. But I think
The people are saying he wasn't Arab; he was Assyrian. But
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, native to Iraq.
And I mean, I don't know what people think that they are achieving when they murder people like Salwan. It makes people even more sickened by this ideology. It validates every criticism we have of this ideology. It validates Salwan's criticism of this ideology. What are you doing? It awakens more people to be disgusted by what you stand for, to be disgusted by the values you hold, to be disgusted by these actions. It awakens more people to say, I don't think any value that approximates what led to this man's murder belongs in our communities. We don't value this. We don't stand for this. This doesn't reflect us. This is not what we aspire to. This is never what we will aspire to. This is barbaric. This is sickening. I swear to God, if we cannot all agree that a definitional understanding of what is being civilized is not to murder people who have offended you, then I don't know how else you define civility. I don't know how what can we agree on if we cannot agree that to be civilized is to not feel validated in grievous righteous hatred, to go kill someone who did nothing more than offend you, no matter how deep and hurtful that offense was. Because again, he didn't hurt anyone. What he was doing was peaceful, whether you like it or not. And he was responded to with the most barbaric and uncivilized of acts. And then turn around and cry bully. Oh, why don't people understand us? Oh, why is there hostility? Because the hostility and hatred of the other that is deeply entrenched in this ideology. That I don't know. I have watched too many Orthodox Muslims brag proudly, be carrying the weapon of their truth, that they stand for the hatred of the other, the burning hatred of the other. Their strength is that they carry that hatred of the other with them. And they do it for what they worship. And they're proud of how strongly they carry that. And I have seen this too popularized, too widespread to have any delusions about widespread attitudes and how popular they are. Validated by the fact that his murder, this uncivilized, barbaric murder, was widely praised. Widely praised. And then if it's not explicitly praised, it's kind of like, well, he kind of had it coming. You know what I mean? Like, well, we're not going to say that we love this, but we're not going to condemn it because he kind of had it coming. And I'm not like actually that upset. You know what I mean? Off the top of my head, I know like a handful of Muslims that have actually condemned this. And maybe my exposure is small. And I can, maybe that's the truth. At the same time, I generally tend to be more tapped in than most people. So
one point I want to make regarding people who say, okay, murder was bad, but also burning books are bad too, because look at history. Who were the other people who burned books? It was the Nazis. So, like, why are we like, you guys are on the side of bringing book burning back? And that is such a idiotic comparison, in my opinion, because first of all, when the Nazis were burning books, they didn't go purchase them. It wasn't like there's two main reasons that why that's different. When you're burning the Quran, nobody's censoring the Quran. The access to Quran is not being limited. This is when the Nazis were burning books. We had no internet, we had no computers back then. Books were the main source of keeping and spreading, storing and spreading information, right? So burning book was meant to be used as a tool to stop that information, to censor that information. But the very people who are blaspheming against the Quran, they actually don't want to censor the Quran. They want you to go read it, actually. They encourage more people having access to the Quran. And we have the internet. We have free apps of the Quran. Nobody's access to the Quran is being reduced because somebody went and bought a copy of the Quran and burned it, right? So that's one difference. Two, the Nazis didn't they destroyed other people's property. If you go, I will condemn you if you burn a Quran that is not yours. That's not only immoral, that's also a crime. You destroy someone else's property. That's not what's happening here. When we desecrate the Quran, we buy it. It's our property. We get to do what we want with our property. We don't go destroy other people's property. If somebody goes into the mosque and steals a Quran and burns it, yeah, that's a crime. You shouldn't be doing it. That's a crime. That's not what's happening here. How is that even like? This is what, and people, when they want to judge things, they just look at the visual similarities rather than the intention and the consequences of the act. That's how you judge things morally. Intentions and consequences, not just visual similarities. Anyways, just wanted to say that.
Yeah. So, congratulations to, well, actually, that's not a good way to say it. I'm trying to be sarcastic. Basically, the people that committed this murder, you have silenced Salwan, but you're not going to silence all of us. You've awoken more and more people to how uncivilized you are. And I've seen more people burning and destroying Qurans across social media than I have in years. Like, again, it just serves to awaken more people to the reality that we face. That's why, I mean, I've never understood why they do this, like, as a tactic. I don't think they understand. I mean, I do understand a lot of it is like honor and insult and all the same freaking talking points.
Must say, Susanna, you do such a perfect job at framing all of these things. Like, whenever these things happen, I just look forward to our weekend coverage of it to see how you're going to talk about it, because you really give us a perspective. So, you know, even I that have been thinking about these and covering these things for years, I'm just waiting for Susanna's take on this at the end of the week to see how you're going to frame this. And I really enjoy the way you look at these things. I use it as reference. I use your points as reference. Yeah.
I don't know. I think like my window has been so shifted that I like don't even see why this is controversial anymore. You know what I mean? Like, to me, it's almost like a moral imperative that we stand for maximizing our free expression regardless of offense. You know, like, Armin, I remember you used to talk about like red lines and how we always need to be very sensitive to when other people are trying to impose red lines on us. And one time he said, "I piss on your red lines." Because I would rather stand for what I believe to be true than what is popular. You know what I mean? And I don't know what's going to take for people that support these kinds of murders and savage acts to understand that within our mindset, this does not garner respect. This does not garner respect. This does not garner sympathy. This does not garner empathy. This does not garner loyalty and fealty. This garners resentment. It creates disgust. It creates disdain. And it destroys pity. When we see something that is this uncivilized and then go see millions of people celebrating it. A lot of fish scales fall from a lot of eyes, to borrow a biblical phrase, when we see this. A lot of fish scales fall from a lot of eyes when LA burns to the ground and there are millions of comments online saying, "Ya Allah, praise Allah, you know, what about Gaza? What about Gaza? This is revenge for Gaza, free Palestine, blah, blah, blah." Like, the lack of insight into the behavior that we see demonstrated en masse is almost hysterical to me. The lack of self-awareness is insane. And this is why I was joking to one of my friends in our AR community. I was like, we don't even have to, like, people, what's the word I'm looking for? We just have to showcase the behavior that is shown en masse. It speaks for itself. And I think it's easy to say that while Salwan might be gone, the impact he had was outsized, and he will be remembered for it, accordingly. People aren't going to forget this. Am I cutting out?
No, not at all. Not at all. You're
Okay.
completely fine. Right. I want to see if I could, because somebody said something in a chat. Yes. Okay. I want to see if I could get a section of Ali Dawah's video. So I might, I'm gonna turn something else. I might cut as you're speaking to the chat. I might cut out for just a little bit. Okay, so bear with me with that.
Okay.
But yeah, can you respond to some of the comments regarding this story in the chat while I'll just turn on something and I might get a cut out for just a second. Yeah, just 1 second.
Okay, but people in the live chat tell me, am I cutting out? Because for me, Armin sounds like a robot right now. Does he sound like a robot for you? I'm just trying to figure out whose connection it is.
Okay, maybe I'm back. I'm back right now. Is that better?
You're frozen for me, but maybe it's just me.
Oh. Am I frozen for everyone else? I think I'm okay. Yeah. Anyways, just read. I'll be okay in a few seconds. Just read the comments in the chat, and I'll be fine in a few seconds. I just wanted to show. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Ronnie Coleman brought up this comment. You're right, saying didn't his Quran burning also contribute to Turkey not wanting to let Sweden into NATO? Ronnie, you are right. I forgot about that. Oh my God. Yeah. So basically, it was multiple things, and because what's the word? What's the phrase when basically if one member votes no, it's terminated. And Turkey kept on like vetoing Sweden being let in, but it was also because of some Kurdish terrorist stuff, like terrorist activists or accused terrorist activists in Sweden that Turkey wanted. So there was also some Kurdish stuff, but the Quran burning was another thing that they said, but maybe that was just for like public appeal. Kenny made a very good point. He said, how are human rights violated by desecrating the Quran? Since when is the Quran a human being? Exactly, Kenny. And this is why everyone needs to be reminded that being protected from offense is not a human right. And why is it not a human right? Because someone can say, well, I'm still harmed by the offense that I experience. Because it is virtually impossible to ensure that all offenses are curtailed equally. I don't know how you ensure equality under the law if you're trying to protect people from being offended. It's impossible. So no, human rights are not violated by desecrating the Quran, but the UN Human Rights Council still had that ruling, which was disturbing. We got some people becoming new members. Ruzbe. Hello, Ruzbe. Thank you for becoming a YouTube member, which is actually an amazing reminder to people that you should become a member to support the channel. It's a great way to make sure that we can still keep doing the show. We definitely need the support. And please join by hitting the join button down below.
Yeah, actually, regarding that, I want to tell people that we, if we reach 1,000 members, then we will be financially completely secure, this channel, right? So right now we have 207 members, if we get to 1,000, then all this channel will be bulletproof. Like this channel would be would not go under anymore financially. So that's our goal. So get us there. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Thank
Kenny, thank you, Kenny. Kenny's super generous and gifted 10 Atheist Republic memberships to people. That's amazing. Thank you, Kenny.
Thank you, Kenny.
Oh, I'm about to sneeze. Oh, that felt bad.
Guys, when you say if I say bless you, people are gonna be like, who Armin? Who?
Oh my gosh. I hate when people are so sensitive about that. I still use like religious language all the time. Gaijin is celebrating his membership for 37 months in origami Quran pages. Well, I'm not very good at origami, but I mean,
David Wood is he does origami with the Quran. So
lovely. John Bundock is a member for 8 months, saying Ryan al-Kinlani and Wad Kado are shameful losers. To be honest, I don't know who these people are. Should I know who this is? Ryan al.
Look it up later, but I want to respond to this comment. I don't know.
Oh, I think they're Iraqi politicians. They were probably after him. I'm gonna make that assumption. Sorry, continue.
So I don't know if this person means what I think he or she means. So play silly games, win silly prizes. Are you talking about a Salwan? Like dying, he played silly games, and that's why he Susie. Guys, am I here? So John is saying yes. So Susie, I don't know what happened to Susie. I think she's sneezing again. But I want her back because I want to respond to this while she's here. So I will get back to this when Susie's back. But let me just look at these two. These saying so many Qurans burnings on X. Yes, I saw that as well. This is a high number as a response to this. I don't know what. I mean, this is a good thing. This is a good thing because the message. What are the people who killed him? What are they trying to do? They're trying to intimidate people into not burning the Quran. And if, as a reaction, more people are burning the Quran, then I hope like it encourages less violence, discourages violence in the future. I hope like all other Muslims are taking note that if you kill somebody for burning the Quran, what happens is that more people end up burning the Quran. The blasphemy and the disrespect to your religion is only going to increase. So this is the proper. It's a good reaction. I'm really happy to see that. And Wakar is saying Muslims cheered. Yeah, many Muslims cheered on this. Yes, exactly. Guys, is my audio okay? Because Susie is hearing my audio in a robotic way. Is my audio okay with you guys? In the chat, can you guys confirm if my audio is fine? That would be helpful if you tell me. Please confirm in the live chat if my audio is robotic. Yeah, people are saying my audio is fine in the chat. Okay, so people are saying my audio is okay. Susie, you can hear me properly? Can you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, barely.
Okay. So as long as you understand me, but we got another new member. I appreciate that. Thank you so much, guys. We're on our way to 1,000, so we need to get there. So thank you so much. And then we got another super chat by Bala saying offense is not given, it's taken. That's another good point. Thank you so much, Bala, for the super chat. Susie, I want to get your take on this. Look at this one. And then I want to play something from Ali Dava that is basically in line with the same message here. What do you think about this message?
I mean, I don't even know what to be said. You're just validating the terrorist veto. You might be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you asked for it, blah blah blah." Okay, so you're on the side of the terrorist, basically. Like, you're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
well, you," in a way, it also kind of like belies how you think about Muslims. Like, you're like, "Well, of course they're going to be violent. What did you think was going to happen?" Do you know what I mean? Like, you expect so little that the people who are victimized, you're like, "Well, of course."
Right. And Ali Dawah said something similar, and I played this, but I didn't respond to it properly. This section of it yesterday when Ali Dawah said almost exactly the same thing. So I just want to make sure that I play it here because I feel like this was an important part of his commentary that I didn't respond to on my stream last night. So let me just play this part. Oh yeah. So wait. First of all, he's making an idiotic claim that if you burn the Bible, obviously Christians are going to do the same thing, which is so idiotic. Listen to it.
Wait, is there audio? I don't hear any audio, but
Oh, you
everything
don't
is
hear audio? Yeah, sorry.
completely frozen for me. So
No, here.
And I burn the Bible. Do you really think the Christians are not going to attempt to kill me? Like, are you that retarded? If I go to a nationalist Hindutva area and I burn their Bhagavad Gita or whatever it is, their scripture, do you not think there's going to be people out there who's going to attempt to try to kill me?
So first of all, the Christians are not going to attempt to try to kill you. And I also mentioned yesterday, everyone else, yes. So we have some Hindutva people that might be doing similar things, but if the numbers are astronomically lower compared to, I mean, we're going to find examples of this in any community, but again, the levels at which it will never get as close as to Muslims. Like, it's so idiotic to compare the violence that exists within the Muslim community to any other community. But here's the part that I want people. I already commented on this on the stream yesterday, but here's the part that I didn't comment.
You play stupid games and you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes.
Yeah, this is blaming the victim, and this is on a show that he's blaming the victim. So he's saying this is his fault. You play stupid games. So again, this is coming from a Muslim, as if this is expected. So this is what you expect from your own community. Honestly, I don't expect this from any other community. It would be rare if a Christian does that. It would be unbelievably rare if a Jew does that. It would, relative to the Islamic community, it is rare if the Hindu community does that. Again, it happens, but not even remotely close to what happens within the Muslim community. But you're suggesting that this is deserved. To me, Susie, am I reading too much into this? He's acting like this is expected, that it's his fault. He's shifting the blame on the victim.
of course.
Yeah. So that was just disgusting. And I'm glad that person in the live chat said that, because it was important for me to highlight this part of Ali Dawah's message. Let's look at the comments that D has selected for us.
You're gonna have to read it because everything is so delayed for me.
Oh, really? I mean, you could open a YouTube tab because it's fine on YouTube, but okay. Is it your connection? Are you having connection problems?
I guess so.
Okay.
It's weird.
Yeah. So guys, let me know if on YouTube everything is okay. So yeah, D has selected a lot of some of the examples of the people on X burning the Quran as a reaction. And yeah, there was a lot of Quran burning videos, so this was one of them. And I saw on Iranian social media, people were losing it. There were so many people angry and burning the Quran in this murder and insulting the Quran. Like, the Iranian social media was very angry regarding the murder. So there's that. And what is this one? What is this video here? Oh, hold on. This one just opened up here. This is another burning of the Quran, I think. Yeah. So yeah, people are just sharing their anger. What else do we have? Oh, this is our prophet, apostle prophet. He was more courageous than all of your Muslims combined. That's what Ridwan or apostle prophet was saying. And he shared a tweet from Salwan saying, Muslims. Oh, look at this. Salwan actually knew this. I know very well that Muslims will kill me one day. So he was ready for this. He expected this. But I am not afraid, and I will not back down from my principles and defending Sweden and the West. And I am ready to pay the price for that. Jesus, my God, that is some level of bravery. So he was ready for, this actually goes back against people like Ali Dava, who were saying that he did this for asylum. I mean, I don't think people do things that makes them certain that they're going to be dying one day for the sake of asylum. This guy was ready to die for his cause. Again, it's not something that I encourage, but if somebody does it, like we appreciate people's bravery even if we don't recommend it. So this person is saying Salwan was a genocide survivor. His family in Iraq was murdered by ISIS for being a Syrian Christian. He sought refuge in Sweden, but not only did Sweden fail to protect him, it actively tormented him with threats of deportation to Iraq, where he faced an execution sentence. And there's a video by Salwan himself. Should we play this one? I think we should play this one. Yeah, actually, I have it here. Let me bring it up. Susie is frozen. Let's play Salwan's video while we wait for Susie to come back.
Urgent call to the human rights organizations and the affected. Hello everyone, this is an urgent call to the human rights organizations and the affected parties. Sweden has made a decision and withdrew its political asylum and decided to surrender to Iraq, where they are waiting for torture and murder in the most horrific ways. I believe that the decision of Sweden is in the form of the participation of Muslims in my murder, and this is what the law is judging. As you know, I am in demand of all Islamic countries, and I have expressed my opinion, criticized the Islamic religion, and burned the Quran several times. All of this was done in accordance with the Swedish law and under the protection of the Swedish police, which granted me permission to protest. My last demonstration was in solidarity with Israel in its war against Palestinian terrorism. According to Iraqi law, anyone who has a relationship with Israel is executed. Also, according to Islamic law, anyone who criticizes Islam or burns the Quran is killed. Since I expressed my opinion, I have received
I don't know if this is real video, because a lot of people are saying his English was not as good as this. And
Yeah, exactly.
the audios and the audio. So this was shared on Twitter. Was this shared on his own Twitter? Because maybe
No.
he just used
Maybe.
AI. Maybe he used AI to. This looks like AI to me. Doesn't it look like AI? Because his English was not this perfect.
Yeah, that's what I told you before.
Yeah. But this got 684 likes. And none of the comments are in that post on Twitter is mentioning that this is fake.
No, but I also don't trust the credibility of that account.
Okay, so no. But it was. Here's the thing: that account is not credible. However, might not be credible. However, it was from Salwan himself. Look at down here, right? So even if he used AI, it is his message. Do you know what I mean? So he might have cloned his voice and typed it, and then maybe used AI to say something he wanted to say, but but it doesn't matter because it is from his account, so we could take it as his message regardless of whether or not AI was used, right? So yeah, that's.
I expressed my opinion. I have received thousands of threats of killing by Muslims. Iraq has issued a memorandum of international arrest because I burned the Quran. Because of this memorandum, I cannot travel to any other country to seek asylum and protection. Therefore, I urgently plead for intervention from human rights organizations and other parties to save my life, which has become hostage to the Swedish immigration system.
Okay, so I can see what he might have done. He might have read this in his own language, and then he used AI to translate it with his voice and change the lip change the lip also to match the language, because AI can do that right now. So he might have just read this in his own language and then used AI to translate it.
I expressed my opinion. I have received thousands of threats of killing by Muslims. Iraq has issued a memorandum of international arrest because I burned the Quran. Because of this memorandum, I cannot travel to any other country to seek asylum and protection. Therefore, I urgently plead for intervention from human rights organizations and other parties to save my life, which has become hostage to the Swedish immigration system. I suspect that someone who made this appalling decision in my favor may have taken a bribe, or that there are individuals working in favor of Swedish immigration. The Swedish immigration system could potentially hand me over and essentially commit a murder at any given time. I suspect that there's a clandestine political agreement between Sweden, Iraq, and Turkey to surrender me. Therefore, I call on countries and human rights organizations to urgently intervene and save a person who hasn't committed any crime but has expressed his opinion according to Swedish law and wants to inform Sweden of the danger of Islam and the Quran to Swedish society. I also call on other countries that want to receive me and grant me the right to asylum and protection, because the recent decision of Sweden has become a danger to my life. Handing me over to Iraq means the death of Salwan Momika, and Sweden will bear the responsibility for that if it happens. Therefore, please save Salwan Momika's life. He is an innocent individual who hasn't committed any crime. All he did was critique Islam and express his opinion under the protection of Swedish law. An innocent person's life was endangered by the Swedish immigration authorities' actions, who were quick to hand him over to the Iraqi authorities for persecution. Thank you.
Okay. Susie, you mentioned that the government in Sweden is blaming foreign government for his death or something similar.
They've said that there's a possibility of foreign interference. We don't know we don't know anything else besides that they've said that that's a possibility.
Because I saw on Iranian social media that some Iranians were suggesting or saying, a little bit too confidently, to be honest, that that Sweden's government is blaming the Islamic Republic, and I think that
Sweden's government has blamed the Islamic Republic for attacks on the Israeli embassy within Sweden, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Like, that has been correctly identified. Also, after the initial round of Quran burnings, the Iranian government did do a operation where they basically sent out mass messages. I don't know exactly how. I don't remember the details, but we covered it, where they were sending like Swedish phone numbers messages in mass threatening them over the Quran burnings. And they determined that that was Iranian hacking, basically. And also, we know that the Iranians do assassinations in Sweden. Like, they have a long history of this. I'm not saying that this is an Iranian assassination. I have no evidence of that. I'm just saying that they do have a strong history of transnational repression operating within Sweden.
I love that you start this comment, Susie. Thank you so much. I needed this. Thank you. This person is saying, this, I think he's a Muslim or whatever, saying, can you admit you're Zionist in public, you cowards? Oh no, we would be too afraid. Unlike that million other times before that we proudly announced that we're Zionists on this channel. But now for all of a sudden we're afraid to admit that. I don't know what changed. You idiots. We have always said that we're Zionists on this channel. Yes, I will tell you guys. I am a Zionist, and I'm proud of being a Zionist. We're proud of that. As Ali Dallas says. Wow, this guy. Oh my God. Thank you so much, Susie. Yes.
Wait,
yes, we are Zionists.
Wait, I love this. Wait, not you, Armin and Susanna. You both are in hiding. I don't know what you're talking about. Literally, this last Friday, I went undercover at a pro-Palestinian charity event, like, that has ties to Hamas. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm out here.
Unbelievable. Yes, we are Zionists. Most of the people in this chat, on our chat, I think, are Zionists. Yeah, but yeah, I'm a Zionist. I'm proud of it. Not hiding it. But thank you for giving us the opportunity to mention that and advertise that. Oh, we got 2 more super chats. So
Oh God, I just remembered something that happened at this charity event I went to, where I think I might have accidentally exposed myself by laughing at the wrong joke too hard. Like, it's a long story. I'll tell you off stream.
okay.
But
Okay.
let's go to the next story because Armin, there's like a little bit of a storm coming in, and I'm worried.
Oh, that's
that
why.
the weather is why I'm
Okay.
breaking up, and I don't want things to just end.
Okay. I mean, even if it does break up, it's fine. We could pick up late next week when we left, you know. But we have 2 super chats before we get to the next news. So you're cutting in and out. So maybe oh no, you're back. Okay, so let's read it.
Okay. Thank you for the super chat. I'll cost €5. Much support from Greek, my Persian brother. Don't forget how many Armenians, Greeks, and Assyrians were massacred in the name of this sick ideology. Yeah.
And Arabs.
Yeah.
You know, to be fair to Arabs, you know, like, let's just remember that this is not a battle between one ethnic group of people against other ethnic group of people. This is a battle between a sickness and humanity as a whole. Okay. This is a cancer that is inflicting all of humanity. But so yeah, all of these people that you mentioned, yes, they have all been the victims of this ideology. Let's just add Arabs themselves also as the victim of this ideology as well, right? And
Maria sent us $20. Thank you, Maria. That's so generous. Whoops, geez, saying just to thank you for all the work you do.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you
Appreciate
for supporting us, Maria.
Yeah, thank you. That's very sweet. Okay, so is the next news clappable? Your connection is good now, so we're good for doing the next stories.
You're gonna have to tell me when you can hear me because I have no idea. But basically,
you're good.
Yes, because I always love talking about British Islamists.
Oh wow. Okay. All right. Wow, this is gonna get spicy. All right. Next news.
British Islamist journalist declares Israel must cease to exist. And, you know, okay, well, I'll get into it later. British Islamist journalist Roshan Saleh, editor of 5 Pillars, unleashed a fiery condemnation of Israel in a recent Blood Brothers podcast, declaring that, quote, this is still a state that cannot exist, insisting that its elimination must remain a generational mission for Muslims. Speaking with host Dili Hussein, Saleh blasted Arab nations for normalizing ties with Israel, calling their leaders secular and dictatorial sellouts who have abandoned the cause. While he claimed opposition doesn't have to mean war, he was adamant, quote, there can be no legitimacy for Israel whatsoever. Hussein eagerly agreed, hoping that, quote, more Arab countries or Muslim countries in general awake to this. The conversation laid bare an unfiltered Islamist perspective that refuses any path to peace or coexistence with Israel. So, Armin, my friend, roll the clip. Roll the clip.
Wait, which one? Bring it up. Let me mute both of them.
You have to unmute it.
Okay, so unmute it, go at the beginning, and then play.
All the secular states in the region, the Arab dictator states, they've all justified their alliance with Israel or their lack of aggressive posture towards Israel on those basis. We need time to rebuild. We're not in a position to fight, etc., etc. And you can see what path long term these states have gone down is to complete normalization and complete warm relationships with Israel. So as far as I'm concerned, this is still a state that cannot exist. It cannot exist. It cannot exist as an apartheid state in the Middle East. And this has to be our focus as Muslims, however long it takes. Whether it takes my lifetime, my children's lifetime, my grandchildren's lifetime, this is what has to happen. So there can be no legitimacy for Israel whatsoever. That doesn't mean you have to be fighting it. That it just means that you cannot give it 1 inch of legitimacy ever.
Inshallah ta'ala, I hope that not just the new Syria, but more Arab countries and Muslim countries in general awake from this.
Ooh, these people are upset. This is I can hear the fact that they know that things are turning against them. Like this is not the Islamic world. It's not just the liberal world. It's also Arab countries, Islamic countries. They're all realizing that Israel is not going to go anywhere. In fact, it's your religion that seems to be more in danger than Israel. Israel is not going to be destroyed. Israel would outlast your religion. That I could promise you that. Israel would outlast your religion. And this was the whole point of October 7th. And I just enjoy seeing them, emotionally suffer, realizing that Israel is not only it's not getting weaker, everything they tried is backfiring. Israel is now stronger than before. And you made it stronger. I mean, they were trying to cope so hard by saying, like, okay, even if Israel has so many powerful friends and so many powerful weapons, we have, with October 7th, we have managed to make Israel look bad. I mean, yeah, for a few months. Now it's back. Now as people don't, the so-called Palestinian cause is becoming more and more of a burden on the Islamic countries than ever before. Bin Salman actually officially came and told the Americans that we don't care about the Palestinian cause. And more Arab countries and more Islamic countries are realizing that, yeah, this is like we're falling behind because of this cause. And you are being abandoned by your fellow Muslims. And you're feeling very isolated and you're feeling very alone and you're panicking. The whole October 7th attack was a response to a panic that we are being forgotten. And yeah, your cause will be forgotten because societies need progress. But societies need to move away from death cults. Even if you want to be pretending to be a Muslim or be a nominal Muslim, you just have to, just be a Muslim by name. At the end of the day, we're all humans and humans want to live and humans want to have better lives. And the way to do that is to move away from a death cult. But yeah, go on, Susie.
So I actually went and watched this whole podcast that they did together. Well, I watched like 95%
of course you did. Of course you did.
Because I wanted to know the full context of what they were saying in the full conversation. And basically the context is that Roshan and Dilly have had disagreements, very large disagreements with each other about Syria from the perspective of Islamists, basically since the conflict first arose. And so the vast majority of the conversation is just them talking about how their perspectives have changed over time, how they've changed over time, how the Syrian conflict has changed over time. What do they think about it nowadays? What do they think about it then? And what are their concerns? How have things changed? Blah, blah, blah. And also because Dilly Hussein has been to Syria many, many times, and he was in Syria recently and interviewed very high-ranking HTS members, and I think was even present in a meeting with Jolani and reporting on it. And so I found this a very fascinating interview or just conversation. And a lot of people in our audience are going to be confused when I say this, but actually Roshan Saleh is one of my favorite Islamists because he is very honest, and he's very self-reflective, and he's very honest about his flaws, how he's changed, what his opinions are, honest about his evolution. He's very honest about his desires. He doesn't talk out of both sides of his mouth. I appreciate how intellectually honest he is. I've actually find it very refreshing because there's so much there tends to be so much like obfuscation, especially in the US. And he just comes out and says it. And I'm like, well, thank you for just being honest. And I also really appreciate people who are very self-reflective. And he comes across as a man who's very self-reflective. And actually, in this interview, Armin, I found this interesting. He talked about how he worked for Press TV for several years. I didn't know that. I didn't know that he worked for Press TV before he started Five Pillars. And so part of what they talked about in this
conversation... worked for the Mushrikeen.
Yeah.
He worked for the Mushrikeen. God damn.
Part of the conversation was about how
I hear him.
At different points of his life, he was never Shia. He's never been Shia. Oh, I might sneeze again.
Hail Satan. Should we do that, guys? Every time someone sneezes, hail Satan.
There
we go.
Anyways, so about how he was never been Shia, but he was like politically aligned with the accents of resistance, especially until recently. And then he moved away from that and all this stuff. But generally, they were having a discussion about the new transitional government in Syria. And this was very interesting, Armin. They were basically saying, to what standard should we hold the transitional Syrian government? Because he was expressing grave concern. He doesn't fully support HTS. Dilly is very supportive of HTS. But Roshan was not fully supportive of HTS, partially because he does not trust it. He thinks that there is a larger hand at play, and he thinks that there was more going on behind the scenes because he doesn't trust how easily they were able to come in. So he's like, I don't know about this.
This is the huge internal fight right now between anti-Israelis regarding the HTS situation, right? So we have the Sunni Muslims who are very, very anti-Shia, and they are more likely to completely support the HTS. They are part of the Sunnis who are anti-Israel, but they never trusted the Islamic Republic of Iran's support and the whole axis of resistance with the Shias being at the center of it. Never trusted that, and they hated the Shia for supporting Assad, and they hated the Shia for supporting Assad's brutal killing of many Sunnis, right? The other side are Sunnis who consider the Islamic Republic in Iran to be the only ally against Israel that has an army, that has, the Hezbollah and the Islamic Republic. There is look at all the Sunni countries, and they're like, okay, these Sunni countries are getting closer and closer to Israel. The only country that is aggressively and with an actual military fighting Israel, like, yeah, we're Sunni, but these are our Muslim brothers, and we should work with them against Israel. So, and there's a huge debate now among Sunnis whether Shias are Muslim or not. So the Sunnis who don't trust the Shias, they consider Shias to be mushrikeen especially because it's not over the disagreement of who's the successor of Muhammad after Muhammad's death. It's regarding the fact that Shias actually pray to their imams, right? Which is a deal breaker. Like, if you do that, you're not a Muslim, according to all schools of Islamic thought, right? So the Sunnis who want to ally with the Shias against Israel, they're saying that Shias, they're doing bid'ah, they're doing something that is haram, a sin, but not to the point that would take them out of Islam. So, for example, people like Daniel Haqiqatjou would argue that, yeah, Shias are, they're doing innovation, they're changing some Islamic teachings, but they are not violating the concept of Tawheed, which is the oneness of Allah. But the problem for people like Danny Hagaju is that Shias actually do, the vast majority of Shias do have beliefs that completely contradict the concept of Tawheed as understood in Sunni Islam. And based on those standards, the vast majority of Shia Muslims will, including the founders of the Islamic Republic, will be considered infidels or non-Muslim, according to Sunni Islam. So that's a problem, and that infighting. So the whole fall of Assad in Syria has caused a huge infighting between Sunnis with regards to who trusts the support of Shias against Israel and who doesn't. And the HTS is very anti-Islamic Republic, and Sunnis were very happy. Many Sunnis were happy that this guy Jolani managed to take out Assad, because they hated Assad. Assad was a killer of many Sunnis, right? So they celebrated HTS, especially a lot of radicals initially celebrated him because of his past. I mean, he used to be like very radical, right? And then people like Daniel Hagaju and others were at first skeptical, because first of all, this guy was against their sugar daddy, which is the Islamic Republic. And then they were like, how did he manage to be so successful so fast? And they came up with a lot of conspiracy theories that maybe this guy is a Zionist, he has Zionist support, blah, blah, blah. I mean, the actual explanation for why he managed to do it so fast is because Assad lost both of his supports. The Islamic Republic was busy, trying to recover from Israel, and Russia was busy trying to busy in Ukraine. That's why they managed to do it so fast. There's no conspiracies required, right? But again, now that HTS and Jolani, what's his new name? I mean, his old name that he's using again, something Shar. I don't know if I forgot his new name, but the Jolani guy. Now he's talking to Americans. Now he's acting like he wants to be somewhat more liberal. And now people who are closer to the Islamic Republic, the Sunnis that want to be closer to the Islamic Republic, coming out and saying, see, we told you this guy is actually pro-West. He's a liberal and all that stuff, to basically say I told you. So that's the infighting right now. A summary. Ahmad al-Shara. Shara. Thank you, Ahmed. Yeah, so Jolani, that's his actual real name, and he went back to his real name. Susie, are you there? Because that was supposed to be a summary, but it went longer than I thought. Did you guys appreciate that summary? Because this is a lot of drama that is happening within the Muslim community, and I just wanted to make sure that you guys understand what's happening. I just give you a quick summary of the drama. Okay, Susie, are you here? I don't know if Susie went away again, but let me actually read the comments that D has highlighted before I go to the super chat. So this guy, it's funny because this guy was saying, so look at this. The comment was like, oh, they want Israel not to exist. And this comment was like, well, how is that going for you? That's a good comment. And then this one, do you want to read this one, Susie?
I can't see it.
Oh, you can't see it? Okay, so this guy is responding, 22 Arab Muslim apartheid countries. Oh, this is actually a really good comment. So these people are saying Israel shouldn't exist. The apartheid regime shouldn't exist anymore. So this guy, Dr. Henry Silverman, is responding, 22 Arab Muslim apartheid countries across 5 million square miles in the Middle East, each invaded and taken by the sword. The indigenous Jews, Christians, Maronite, Assyrians, Zoroastrians killed, ethnically cleansed, forcibly converted, and subjugated, and only one tiny Jewish state. Okay, let me see the rest of this. This is actually such a good comment. I want to get to the rest of it. And only one tiny Jewish state of 8,000 square miles cannot be permitted to exist in the region. The definition of mental illness. Okay, so I don't agree with the mental illness part, because mental illness is a more medical thing and shouldn't be used as an insult, to be honest. This is worse than mental illness, but the rest of it was spot on. That was such a good comment. I love this guy, so that was good. Let me read let me actually see if you are seeing.
I had something else I wanted to bring up before we got into the summary.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Well, basically, what was interesting about this conversation is they were kind of discussing like how to what standard should we hold the new transitional government of Syria. That this is the context of the clip, right? Because he's talking about based on what some of the HTS has said so far, it seems like they are kind of maybe being friendly to Israel by some people's standards. And what's going on there, or at least they haven't been, talking about Gaza to the extent that we would like, or maybe they are, and basically the conversation was, should we give them the opportunity to rebuild Syria? Like it's justifiable that they're not going after Israel right now. They're very weak. They have a lot of work to do. They have to focus on their own people. And then Roshan was basically saying, like, this is all true, but how often have we heard the excuse, like, oh, we need to rebuild, we need time to regroup, and then it actually leads down the path of normalization, and we can never have normalization. We will never accept normalization. So I thought that was really interesting. And the other thing I think about that at some point, I worry that there will be more pressure for non-normalization for people in the diaspora that are not in Palestine or the region than people who are actually in the region. Like, I worry that it's going to be the global diaspora who are never going to accept normalization more than the actual people that live there. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, that's on point. That's on point. With regards to, I mean, Jolani is really trying to stabilize the whole thing, right? And there's a lot of threats from all directions coming at it. We have evidence that the Islamic Republic is actively trying to destabilize Syria now after this is happening. And do you and a lot of the connections that you're saying. So first of all, here's the thing regarding the point that you make that he's being friendly to Israel. Well, technically, he's not being friendly to Israel. He's just being realistic. Okay. Again, this guy seems to be smarter than a lot of people gave him credit for, regardless of what he did in the past. I'm not like excusing any of that. I'm just saying this guy seems to be pragmatic. Like he went from being idealistic to being pragmatic, right? And what he doesn't want he doesn't want to pick a fight with Israel. He seems to know that that's a losing fight, that's unrealistic. He wants to focus on Syria. He doesn't want to fight with anybody. He just wants to focus on stabilizing Syria. I'm not saying we're going to agree with everything he does. He's probably going to do things that we are going to make shows in the future and be like condemning, or I don't know, that could happen. We'll see. But the point of it is that he is wise enough to know that picking fights with Israel is unwinnable, and it destabilizes Syria again. And Syria wants stability and peace right now. Syria is tired of war. And because he's trying to make a deal with the rest of the world and also signal to Israel that we don't want any war with you. I mean, think about it. Look at the reactions of Syria to the capture of Mount Hermon by Israel. It hasn't been very aggressive. I mean, look at the response of Jolani to Israel coming out and bombarding almost everything, all the military equipment that Syria had. They're all poof in the most the largest aerial bombardment in Israel's history was just done recently on Syria, and these people didn't really. There was not much of a pushback, even with wars against Israel. So these people are like, what the hell? You guys are representing Syria, and Israel just came and bombarded all your military equipment, and forget about even attacking Israel. You guys are not even in wars taking a position against Israel. So this is, to a lot of people who are skeptical about HTS, and came up with conspiracy theories that these people are Zionist puppets. To them, this is proof that these people are Zionist puppets. But they don't understand that this is just being pragmatic. Israel does that because Israel can do that. And it makes pragmatic sense for Israel to do that as well. And they are just realizing that, yeah, I'm not going to pick a fight with somebody that can do the things that they're doing and basically promising for us to do things that we can't do. This is very pragmatic. And this is what making a lot of people and anti-Zionist people angry. But one thing, I know I'm speaking too much, and we need to go to the next news and read the super chat. But just one more point for people who want to follow these geopolitics more closely. A lot of what's happening right now in Syria is about two oil fields. Okay, one in the Eastern Mediterranean and the other one in the Persian Gulf. Okay, and it's both. It's about Qatar and Turkey. Qatar and Turkey would really want to stabilize Syria right now. Turkey would love. For Turkey, is that both those gas fields are important because the Eastern Mediterranean oil fields are not that many countries recognize that as part of Turkey's territory, and Turkey just wants more countries in that region to officially recognize Turkey's ownership over them. And the new government in Syria will recognize that as Turkey's in the Eastern Mediterranean gas field, right? And also there are the largest oil fields, gas fields in the world is right next to Qatar in the Persian Gulf. And if Qatar ever manages to build a pipeline from there to Europe, Europe will have all the gas that it needs for the next 100 years. And it will never need Russia ever again. That's one reason why Russia didn't want Syria Assad to fall, because if that pipeline is built from Qatar to Syria and Turkey and goes to Europe, then it would be the end. It would be the end of Europe's gas dependence on Russia. That's how big that oil field is. And Qatar and Turkey both want, for the sake of selling these access to these gas and selling it to Europe, to have a stable Syria. And Qatar and Turkey are allies, by the way, in this. So these are the also economic reasons why everything is happening. Anyway, sorry for that. That was too long, but it's important, I think, for us to have some understanding of the economics behind everything that is happening as well.
Yeah, and what just as a final note, one thing I thought was kind of funny about this podcast is they ended it with talking about how they've been so insulted and betrayed, not only by Shias, but by anti-imperialist leftists for their support for the fall of Assad. They just went off on a 15-minute rant about how they've been slandered and defamed by people accusing them of being like part of MI5 and spy agencies and all sorts of stuff, and the Zionist playbook being played by the anti-imperialist leftists who turned Islamophobes the second that this happened, blah, blah, blah. I don't know, just the more evidence of this whole like temporary unity just like crumbling.
Right.
Yeah. But honestly, I don't know. People might think I'm crazy. Like, they're very interesting to listen to. Like, I'm
yes,
like, if I
I completely agree. Yeah, go on.
No, it's just very informative. Like, they're honestly very intelligent at articulating their worldview. They're very intelligent and knowledgeable about geopolitics. So it's a higher level of thought than we get from Ali Dawa and Muhammad Hijab.
Right.
And I appreciate it in my own way.
Can you lift your microphone a little bit, because it's so much higher quality when it's a little bit higher? To be honest, though, Muhammad Hijab, guys, when Susanna is saying, it's not that we agree with these people's conclusions, right? But some of these people are more informed about reality than others, and it's important to listen to them to know what the internal, like I completely get what Susanna is saying. I enjoy listening to the fight between that Jake guy and Daniel, for example. And these people, as much as idiotic as their final conclusions are, in many aspects, they are very informed about many details about the Middle East and the details of their own religion. And it's important for us to recognize who, like Ali Dawa is not on that level. Muhammad Hijab is on that level, but he gets messy with this. Like he gets like sometimes he just he can be on that level. Like he does have that knowledge. But if you really want to see the people who, if you want to listen to the internal discussions within the Muslim community and get a better understanding of what the higher quality conversations are, this is one place that you could listen to. Another, Daniel Hayakaju, is another place, for example, for you to get like the most of it. If you want to get the most idiotic, low level brain rot, then Ali Dawah would be the best one within the Ummah that creates content that is meant for the lowest level audience. But for the highest level audience, people like this and people like Daniel Hayakaju within the Muslim community, those are the main content creators. Yeah.
Yeah, but Hakikuju can act so arrogant.
Yes,
and
yes. So
these guys don't act arrogant the way that he does. And like Muhammad Hijab has that like weird bravado where he tries to come across like a WWE wrestler. And I'm like, can we just have a normal freaking conversation? Like,
right.
Yeah. And so this is a very, very different vibe.
I just want to appreciate how you go and listen to the entire thing for you to have the right context to talk about these things. Like that is, a lot of people don't do that. So that's why you know more about these things than most people do, because you actually go listen to the whole conversations. And we should appreciate that, guys. Like this is why Susie knows a lot more about these than many Muslims do themselves. So
I mean, I wake up for this show and I go watch a full khutbah before coming to talk to you guys about it. Okay, that's how I spend my morning.
Yeah, that's great.
And honestly, it doesn't take as much time as you would think, because one thing I've learned is that Islamic stuff like takes a long time. Like the amount of time just spent on like the opening prayers is so long.
Oh my
God.
God.
I can cut that off and it'll only actually be like 30 minutes because it's just so much.
Yeah.
I'm
now listening to these things on triple speed. I used to be double speed. Now I'm getting used to consuming content in triple speed. So
oh my goodness, someone has to brag.
Yeah. Yeah. We got 2 super chats. Do you want to respond to those?
Yes. So this is let's go to Gasian American first because I like his more. Gasian gave a super chat. Thank you, my friend. Oh, and we need the ruling of Mufti Armin here. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Mufti Armin, I understand it is haram to invest in the arms industry, but does this also apply to private prisons? I don't know if you know about private prisons, but
yeah, I know about private prison. But okay, so the arms industry itself, there's nothing wrong with it Islamically. In fact, Islam is very much into the arms industry itself. I mean, Muhammad sold Jewish women and children to buy arms. Like they were free. Like when in Bani Qurayza, when Muhammad captured all the Jews, he killed all the men, beheaded all the men, and the women and children were sold into slavery. And he with that money that he raised, he bought weapon and horses for his war. So the whole buying and selling arms, there's nothing un-Islamic about that. But when you talk about invest, there's a huge debate within Islam regarding finance and interest, which we already had a conversation about that, right? So you cannot expect interest from your investments if you want to be a literalist and don't want to come up with excuses to make interest look like something else. Then you cannot invest in technically in anything if you expect a rate of return, if you expect a profit on your investments and interest, right? So yeah, but that industry as a whole, there's nothing is un-Islamic about that. Private prisons, I mean, there's no hadith that I've seen that would make that haram. So I would think that it should be allowed that industry should be allowed Islamically. But again, The only problem with it is that are you looking for interest over your investments? That could be haram, the whole interest part. So there's that. That's my answer.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, things are going in and out. So Steve gave a super chat. Thank you, Steve. And he's been going off about Christianity in the live chat for context. He's saying under atheism, murder is never objectively immoral or wrong. So why not just acknowledge the subjective preferences of others? Steve, for the love of God, this is not the this is not the theme of our news show, is to like debate atheism. But long story short, there is not like under atheism, the atheism like is a lack of belief. It's just saying that there is a claim being presented by theists. We do not accept that claim. And you can have basically any other ideology.
Right. But let me just give you one liner to respond to this, right? So it's objectively true. It's objectively true that the vast majority of humans consider improving our well-being to be a value. That is objectively true, right? That we just want a better lives. We want to be happier. We want to see less pain, less disease, less misery. That is the goal of most humans, is improving well-being. And it's also objectively true that there are better ways to get there and there are worse ways to get there. That is what when I say we call morality, I'm talking about utilitarians, not all atheists, okay? But you do have objective morality as an atheist as well, in the way that I described it. Objectively, most of us want the same thing. We want better lives. And objectively, we could identify the ways that we could make humanity and ourselves and other people better off. And there are objectively worse ways to do that. So that's basically just how we identify what's moral and what's not moral. Easy. And it's objective. Simple answer. And then you had the common start.
Oh, there was just this comment. Matthew said, as a Muslim, I think you guys are my favorite atheists. Well, thank you, Matthew.
Oh, thank you.
That's very sweet.
I appreciate that. That's very sweet. See, guys, Muslim, we do not agree with Islam, but not all Muslims are sensitive about that. Like, I could be friends with a Muslim that doesn't accept atheism, and I could be against Islam and be friends with a Muslim. You know, disagreements does not have to turn us into enemies. Agreements does not need to be a condition for friendship. We could be very much in disagreement with each other and still be friends with each other, which is good. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you for saying that.
I was going to say that Matthew is my favorite Muslim, but I'm sorry, Matthew, that's a lie. That would have to go to my friends and colleagues.
Well, you're high up there.
Yeah. Flying Robot Duck gave a super chat saying, how often do hadiths contradict each other? If so, what do Muslims do about it? Well, again, I'll toss this to Mufti Armin. Give us your ruling.
Well, I mean, a lot. They contradict each other a lot. But again, I don't know how you could quantify that. Like, I'm not sure. Like, we have to do numerical analysis of that. So I don't know if anyone has ever done that. I just, however, there are ways to like just have different interpretation. Trying to question the legitimacy of some hadiths that contradicts the others. I mean, to be honest, the Bukhari and Muslim kind of did a lot of the heavy work to begin with to remove hadiths that were contradictory. I mean, not that they did a very good job about it, but there was, because when the hadith was being canonized, it was being done during the Abbasid period, which the the whole scholarship around this scholarship, I say that loosely in quotation, was a lot more sophisticated. So they were able to identify any hadith that is contradictory and deem it as da'if or not trustworthy. However, there's still a lot of contradiction. But the problem with hadith is just the idiocy and the ridiculousness more than the contradiction. But yeah, there are still contradictions though. Anyways.
So let's go to the next
right.
story.
All right.
This one is brutal. I mean, I guess we can clap because this guy's going to jail. But the details are nightmarish.
Okay.
So should we just clap because this guy's going to jail?
Yeah, we're clapping for him going to jail. Next news.
UK doctor jailed for Islamic circumcision mutilation. And I'm going to warn you guys, the details of this, when I was doing my research, had me doing this at my computer. I was like it's bad. Okay, so just to be forewarned, a UK doctor turned butchering profiteer, Mohammed Siddiqui, has been sentenced to over 5 years in prison for carrying out gruesome and reckless circumcisions on young boys using rusty, unsanitized instruments. Despite being struck off by the General Medical Council, so basically he was a doctor and then they removed his license because of how bad his practices were, the 58-year-old continued his illegal mobile circumcision service, leaving children screaming in agony, with at least one rushed to the hospital for emergency surgery. Prosecutor Ben Douglas Jones, KC, condemned Siddiqui's greed, stating that he cut corners to maximize profits at the cost of horrific suffering. Guys, this is so grim. Among the grim discoveries in his Toyota was a circumcision immobilizer used to forcibly restrain children, a device deemed unacceptable in NHS practice. The National Secular Society slammed the case as further proof that ritual circumcision is painful, dangerous, medically unnecessary, and irreversible, with Dr. Alejandro Sanchez insisting that boys must be protected from ritual circumcision until they are old enough to decide for themselves. So the situation here is so bad because I did not realize, Armin, that non-medically necessary circumcision is completely unregulated in the United Kingdom.
No way.
So this guy was going around and he would come to your house and circumcise your sons literally just on your dining room table while they're restrained. He would sometimes put anesthetic cream on them, but only do it but then start to circumcise them immediately. So there was no anesthesia. And you might be like, oh, well, he's just doing it on like babies and babies don't remember anyways, as if that's like, okay. No. He would do this on 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds. He did this on a teenager. He did this on a boy 15 years old, fully conscious. Okay. These cases are so bad that they found that he had implements that still had skin tissue on it, and medical instruments that were rusty. And male circumcision remains unregulated. And he grievously harmed these boys. One mother has been left traumatized with the thought that letting Siddiqui operate on her son may have caused lifelong damage to his penis. The boy is due to be seen by a pediatric specialist. His circumcisions variously left boys' penises as black, necrotic, smelling foul, inverted, and not normal. One boy was so badly injured that he had to be hospitalized for 2 weeks and undergo a spinal tap. One boy was so grievously harmed that some of the anesthetic that was administered caused a severe adverse reaction so that the child nearly died. Other times he would just put a little cream and then just go to do it so that the child experience a gratuitous infliction of pain with deliberate, and the court found that he practiced a deliberate disregard for the welfare of children. It's horrific. It is absolutely horrific. And then there's many questions about why in the UK the police failed to act, because there were instances where there was another doctor in Nottingham who had twice circumcised boys without the adequate parental consent. And this other doctor was arrested, but then never prosecuted. And it's one of these instances where they're like, how was this allowed to continue? Because we knew that there were signs and it had come up multiple times before. It's horrific and disgusting. And I just want to use this to emphasize that ritual genital mutilation is unacceptable. It's disgusting. And we shouldn't make any excuses for it just because we think it's okay to happen to boys. Like it's more normalized. I think ritualized circumcision is disgusting no matter what. And the fact that it is completely unregulated and you do not have to be a doctor to practice this is deeply disturbing. Deeply disturbing. Now, other people, like people at the National Secular Society, who do really good work. I'm a big fan of the National Secular Society in the UK. They have said that instances like this should not be like a call to medicalize this practice. You know, like that actually validates this practice. We should be banning and criminalizing this practice because there is no circumstance in which a parent would be allowed to ritually remove healthy, non-medically necessary body parts from their child, and we would accept that that is not an endangerment of child welfare. If there was a parent that was ritually removing body parts from their child that was not medically necessary, we would be horrified and think that this person is endangering the welfare of this child that is helpless in the face of what their parents are doing to them. You know, like it's unacceptable. And to me, I think the only intellectually consistent position is that it should be completely banned and criminalized. The problem is that I'm knowledgeable enough to know that there's actually going to be like legitimately no medical will to do that. There's going to be, political will to do that.
What's going to happen to him?
Let me remind myself of what his sentence was. I actually don't know if he's been sentenced yet.
He got
oh
arrested.
My God.
He's
The
in
police
jail.
found a hook and serrated wheel with rust and skin on it among Siddiqui's medical instruments during their investigation. Many of his instruments had not been properly sterilized. Like, when I was doing research on this, there are so many little details about this case that are nightmarish. And I categorically refuse to accept that male circumcision is palatable. Has he been sentenced yet?
Maybe he hasn't been sentenced yet.
Jailed. Yes, excuse me. He has been sentenced to 5 years and 7 months.
Oh, okay. I mean, imagine if somebody did that to your child. Fucking hell. Imagine go through the experience. Imagine what the kind of parents would let somebody do this to their child. I don't understand it. I don't get the parents. I think the parents should be punished as well. I don't know.
So basically, I mean, partially it's because of how this is allowed to continue under the scope of the law. You know, like this is an unregulated practice. And this is a man who had previously had a doctor's license. He was previously a practicing doctor. And in his free time, he would be doing home visits to carry out circumcisions for money. And then later, he was removed from the General Medical Council register, but he still continued to do the circumcisions. So basically, according to one with the victim statement that I was reading in for research, there was a parent saying that there is, and I kind of get this. She was saying that there is a power dynamic of authority when you interact with someone who is a doctor or has received medical training. You're like, oh, they're a doctor, they have authority on this, they have knowledge on this, like they must know what to do. And so you entrust them.
I don't know. If you're a parent, I think you should do a lot more research when somebody is going to basically coming with a knife at your child. I mean, I do more research if I'm trying to buy a car. I wouldn't trust the authority figure. Like I'm investing a lot of money, and this is like that's just money. This is my freaking child. Somebody is going to cut my child. Like I'm thinking, like even based on Islamic standards, I think you should be doing a lot more research with regards to who's going to be like who you're handing your child to. I don't know. I think like this is an absolute failure.
Well, I mean, there has to be some responsibility there. I mean, at the point that the doctor is physically restraining your child and setting them up without anesthesia to be operated on your dining room table, like at what point
that doesn't look
stop and pause?
Yeah, that look exactly like I'm not gonna like they're doing an operation on my son's penis on the dining room. At some point I'm gonna be like, maybe this authority figure is not that authoritative. Like I don't know, like at some point, like if that was not a red flag, I think you fail as a parent. You have failed as a parent. I don't know. Okay.
Yeah.
That is. I think these people are failures. Let's just quickly do the comments that the highlighted. So read this one.
Yeah, so this person is commenting, it's horrifying that someone in a position of trust like a doctor could act with such disregard for safety and well-being, especially involving children. The fact that he continued despite being struck off shows how broken the system can be when it comes to accountability. Exactly. And this person is making a joke saying, I'm surprised he didn't ask to be tried in a Sharia court, assuming that is an option. Okay, I think this is a joke, or maybe they don't understand. Like, no, in this context, it's not an option.
Not yet. So maybe talk to us in 5 years. Maybe it would be an option in the UK. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, let's.
Any ban must apply to all circumcisions, not just to Muslims, but the government won't ban it because of quote unquote anti-Semitic propaganda. I'm a little bit confused by the statement, but basically, if there was a push to ban circumcision across the board, yes, there would be people that cry anti-Semitism.
Yeah, but that's not going to be the main concern, especially because you're going to be able to find a lot of secular Jews who are going to be like supporting you and be like, yeah, no, this is not anti-Semitic. This is bullshit. I think the main concern would be the Islamic community's reaction. With regards to being anti-Semitic, I don't think you're gonna be worried about that too much. I mean, I'm sure that some Jews will have a pushback against that, but the main concern is the Islamic community, not the Jewish community.
No, I disagree.
Oh, really? Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Tell me.
That's not the experience in America. When there have been calls where there was simply a measure that was being proposed in New York Well, let me pull up my notes. That basically, like, you have.
I agree with you. You're talking about America. I was talking about the UK. Relative, the concern in the UK, I think, would be mostly the Islamic community. In the United States, the Islamic community is not. Okay, so go on.
Well, basically, it's like, how would the world react at large? This would be painted as anti-Semitic at large. Like, there was a doctor in Ireland that got jailed for doing a circumcision, and I can't remember the exact circumstances. I was trying to find it earlier today, and I couldn't find the right details. But in someone like as large of a figure as Carolyn Glick was going on Twitter blasting how this is an anti-Semitism, this is attack on the Jewish people, all this stuff. I looked up the details. It was because the dude did it completely illegally. You know, there's been efforts in the United States that for if you're going to do the Jewish practice of sucking the penis after completing the circumcision, when the mohel does it, that they have to have like certain standards, or there was some sort of document that needed to be signed, blah, blah, blah. Like, there was a huge push within the local Jewish community to like not allow that kind of thing. There's only been a single city in the legislature in the entire United States that has ever considered an effort to ban circumcision. It was in San Francisco. It failed so hard that communities pushed to implement a law, which is still in effect, that it is illegal to ban it. So not only did the point to ban it fail, they actually implemented a law that said that you can never ban this.
So I don't think this negates what I'm saying. I'm not saying there's no pushback. I'm not saying people are not going to call it anti-Semitic. I'm saying there is of course there's going to be a pushback. We always have religious people in other communities that will stand against you. It's against progress in every community, and that exists. I'm not denying its existence. Okay, I'm just saying that a community of violent people, it's always a bigger concern. Not that these other people are not a concern and that they're not going to push back. There's always going to be a pushback. Christians will push back if we come for their values. Jews will push back. Hindus will push back. Everybody will push back. But there's one of these communities that will just do more than pushing back. And I always think that they are just more of a concern, not that the other people are not a concern. I'm not dismissing that. Does that make sense?
Okay, well, I didn't understand that was specifically what you were referring to, the threat of violence.
Yeah, I'm talking about relevant concern, not like the non-existence of concern. That's what I was saying. But yeah, I completely agree with that. I also celebrate. You remember the Danish? They banned both halal meat and kosher meat in Denmark, and they got pushback from both sides, and they were like, "Yeah, no, we're going for this." Right? So we praise them. We said when both Muslims and religious Jews are upset about something, you must be doing something right. Remember, we had that news. But again, I'm also saying that you are going to find more Jews, ethnic Jews, that would support this. That will come like, yeah, this is fucking bullshit. Like, within the Jewish community. What?
Based on what are you saying that?
Based on the
I don't think we have any data to demonstrate that.
We do have data to that anti-religious practice views exists higher among Jewish ethnicity than any other ethnicity, any other group of people. They have much higher percentage of the population that are secular.
That's different than the attitudes towards circumcision.
Yeah, well, that's what I've seen. We could look into that maybe deeper more. That's my impression. Maybe it's wrong.
Someone is giving me a really Carlo, do you think this is a dunk saying, Susanna, more Gentiles are circumcised in the US than Jews? Yeah, because there are more Gentiles than Jews. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't like it. I really don't care who does it. I think it's disgusting. I think it's wrong.
It's disgusting. Yeah, it's disgusting. It is. I mean, we agree with that. That's disgusting. Cutting children is bad. Cutting infants without their consent, cutting people without their consent is bad. And last time I checked, infants can't give consent.
Also, the holes in the law that allow this to happen, like unregulated and not by medical doctors, is like horrifying to me.
Yeah, and also the fact that infants forget it is irrelevant. They're experiencing the pain at the time. Circumcision on boys happens with either no anesthetics or very low level of anesthetics because they can't. It's bad for the infants, and they experience it. And they experience a lot of people like, oh, infants don't experience pain in the same level as adults do. Actually, yes, they experience it more. Right, so studies actually show that they're feeling that this torture. You're torturing an infant. Oh, but they're going to forget it later. Okay, I don't give a fuck. They're experiencing the pain at the time that you're doing it. So fuck you.
Yeah, well, and also it does, like boys that are much older do get circumcised.
Yeah.
It doesn't only.
But it's a
happen to
crime
babies.
even if they forget it. Like, what if I came and tortured you and then did a Men in Black thing in front of you, and then you forget all that torture? Would that make it okay? Like, you were experiencing the pain when I was doing that to you. That is a crime. That is immoral.
Mhm.
It's so amazing that people come and but tell us that, oh, you cannot have morality if you're an atheist, and then they defend this. Like, okay, sure, like whatever you call morality, if I don't have that, I don't want to have that. Okay, you keep your morality when you're excusing this fucking bullshit.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Let's
I'm
move
just
on.
thinking the people getting mad in the live chat. I don't care if you've been circumcised. I don't think it should happen to a single other child.
Yeah. That's, oh, it happened to me and I'm happy. Well, then you should have chosen to do that when you were an adult. That's fucking bullshit. Just because you're okay with it, it doesn't excuse it. God damn it. Yeah.
Ay, ay, ay.
Wow. Great observation. What does that mean even? I don't understand.
You're a woman, so I shouldn't care about grievous harm done to children. Okay, Carl, if you really feel like I shouldn't care about this because I'm a woman, I hope like you're not one of these dudes that ever is like into men's rights. I hope you never like are into red pill shit and then complain about the modern women and how they don't care about the struggle of men and all that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I have that opinion. I have the same opinion over female circumcision, or better said, genital mutilation. So can I not have that opinion about female genital mutilation being bad because I'm a man? That's fucking bullshit. I'm anti-hijab. I'm making a comment about women, something that is regarded as about women, and I'm anti-hijab. Should I not have an opinion about that? That's stupid. Yeah. Anyways, let's move on to the next news. Clappable. Oh, by the way, I just wanted to highlight Alriz's comment saying, Susanna, you're wonderful. Thank you for all your work and efforts. I love you. Oh, thank you, Alriz. That's really
Thank
nice.
you.
I like it when people say that to Susie. I enjoy reading, guys. When people compliment Susie in the live chat, I enjoy it so much more than when people even compliment me, because I really do think that she doesn't get the credit that she deserves. So I really like to see that in the chat. It makes me happy. And the Asian American just gave us a super chat saying Changiz Khan outlawed circumcision. Well, he went for the head instead of the penis more often. He'll like, yeah, let's not cut people's penises, but he was in favor of cutting people's heads off more. And so I can't give credit to him over that. Okay, so as much as I'm against mutilating people's penises without their consent, I am more against mutilating their heads without their consent. So no credit to Changiz Khan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, so let's go move on to the next story.
Yes. Okay, clapworthy.
I mean, yes, this guy's going to jail.
Okay,
we
fantastic.
hate this manifestation of evil, but
all right. Well, then next news.
Next news, Southport Massacre, how police ignored warnings and let a killer strike. Axel Rudakabana's cold-blooded attack on a Taylor Swift-themed dance class in Southport left Britain reeling as 3 young girls, 7-year-old Elsie Stancombe, 6-year-old BB King, and 9-year-old Alice de Silva Aguilar were murdered. Aguiar were murdered in what has been described as an act of pure evil. Armed with a kitchen knife he purchased on Amazon, the then 17-year-old slashed and stabbed his way through the class, injuring more than 8 children and 2 adults, and obviously traumatizing everyone else. The act horrified the world and sparked riots that shook Britain. Despite a trail of red flags spanning years, multiple police encounters, and a violent history at school, and his obsession with Adolf Hitler, Genghis Khan, and mass killings, authorities failed to intervene effectively. Chillingly, after his arrest, the teenager bragged about the murders, telling officers that he was glad the children were dead and had intended to kill all 26 in the room. Although he was found in possession of an Al-Qaeda training manual and had attempted to make the deadly poison ricin, police did not classify the massacre as a terrorist act, citing his lack of allegiance to a specific ideology. The British government has since launched an urgent review into how repeated warnings, including 3 referrals to Prevent, Prevent is like the kind of counterterrorism warning program in the UK, where you can like report someone, and multiple police visits to his home, and his 2019 expulsion for carrying a knife to school were ignored. In the wake of the tragedy, the UK has announced stricter online knife sale regulations, and Home Secretary Yvette Cooper has promised a full public inquiry into the catastrophic failings that allowed a known danger to become a child killer. So Axel Rudakabana has been sentenced to a life term with a minimum of 52 years in prison. So it is likely that he will remain the rest of his life in prison. If he had been 18 at the time of this attack, the sentencing would have been worse. There is so much to unpack here. And partially, I wish, and I know that things have to be done in due process and in the court of law and stuff, but in this instance, I wish the authorities had been giving us more information that we have now that the trial has concluded. Because this was so painful for the British public, and people are reeling and trying to understand what happened. And when there is silence and no explanation, it is our innate nature to go search for meaning and explanation ourselves. And so we're going to fill in the gaps. And then even if you go present perhaps more credible information later, it is going to feel like it is lacking in credibility because people have tried so hard to explain it themselves and explain it in their own way that if it doesn't align, they're just not going to believe it, or they're going to be less likely to believe it because it will not make as much sense as what they've already constructed for themselves. And we kind of saw this with the vehicular attack that happened in Germany with the ex-Muslim attacker. You know, people, the explanation that was provided just didn't make a lot of sense. And so the answer has to be that he's actually a secret Muslim jihadi instead of these other reasons of this conspiratorial man. You know what I mean? And so basically, now that the trial has concluded, the sentencing has concluded, we have so much more information about what was going on in Axel Rudakabana's life and the kind of person he was. And when I was digging into this, so many of the details were so shocking. So basically, Axel Rudakabana comes from a Rwandan family. There is lots of rumors about who his parents are and what kind of political connections they have back in Rwanda, and were his grandpa and dad part of like the military and all this stuff. I'm not going to get into that because it didn't seem super credible. But basically, his family first immigrated to the UK after the Rwandan genocide around the year 2002, I believe. And I think they're of the Tutsi ethnicity. And by all reports, Axel was a pretty normal kid until the age of 13. And then he started to complain of racial bullying. And then he started to bring knives to school. He called the child line to admit that he had murderous thoughts. He carried a knife to school 10 times. And when teachers would find him with this knife, he would ask, like, what should I do if I want to kill someone? It seemed to have like no insight into why this was like shocking to people. He would be very honest about this. He wouldn't really hide it very well. And basically, it became clear that Axel was autistic and he had issues with rage and he had issues with understanding people and he had issues with fitting in and he was volatile. And his behavior got so bad that he ended up getting expelled from the first school. And then he kind of, ever since then, ended up bouncing around different school programs for like, it seems, I'm not super familiar with the UK system, but it seems kind of like special schools for when kids have really bad behavioral issues. We have those in the US. But he would still continue his violence and his aggression. He came to school with a hockey stick with some of the names of like his teachers or students written on it. He ended up attacking a student and breaking that student's wrist. Teachers always reported that he had no remorse for any of his attacks. He had no remorse for any of his violence. He kept on bringing knives to school. He was arrested for assault, carrying a bladed weapon, and that earned his first criminal conviction. And he got his first referral to Prevent because a teacher overheard him talking about a mass shooting. And so basically, from a very early age, from the age of at least 13, it became clear that Axel had an absolute obsession with violence, an obsession with grievous violence, gratuitous violence, mass violence. He would be I mean, when I was researching this, I thought like every time I would find a new article talking about it, it would reference like a new form of extreme violence that he had been upset by. I'm talking mass school shootings in the US. I'm talking genocides. I'm talking slavery. I'm talking dictators. I'm talking torture. I'm talking ISIS videos. I'm talking terrorism. Like any form of mass and extreme violence that could exist. He seemed to be obsessed with it. He would seek out videos of it on the internet. They talked about how he was watching this kind of stuff constantly. The social workers that ended up working on his case said that he knew an obsessive amount about genocides. He was this child who would never stop talking about genocides. And he would start and be like extremely knowledgeable about it and very detailed about it and be researching like academic papers about it, like just obsessed. And he had particular knowledge over the Rwandan genocide. And he ended up getting referred to Prevent again because he was posting images of Gaddafi all over Instagram. They found him researching the 2017 London Bridge attack. He seemed to be, so we covered how he was facing a charge for having Al-Qaeda materials. And it seems that he just wanted to like study the violence of Al-Qaeda. Like he didn't have an ideology. His ideology was just like extreme violence. And I think that's why he sought out some terrorist materials. And I mean, his parents were having extreme problems with him. There were reports from the neighbors that in the weeks preceding the attack, they had seen police cars at their home like at least 6 times. the parents were having a hard time like struggling with his violence. They were asking the police for help, like, how do we deal with our child when he's acting against us because we're refusing him access to a computer? He would be in public with a knife. He'd be trying to get on the bus without pain, and then the police would apprehend him. He had knives. He would just in that instance, he just told the officers, he's like, yeah, I want to stab someone so that the police arrest me, so that when they arrest me, they help me delete videos on TikTok that I put that I now find embarrassing, that I want deleted, but I don't know how to delete them anymore. So maybe if I stab someone and the police arrest me, then they can help me with that. Like, and he would just say that stuff and like have no insight or remorse into like why people find that weird, find that shocking. He started to make ricin poison. And then by the age of 17, he'd fallen through the cracks. Partially this was because of COVID. Like, he hadn't been attending school. He had no friends. They never saw him leave the house. He had stopped engaging with mental health services. When social workers had worked with him in the past, they wanted the police to be present because of how like volatile he was. They insisted on police presence during meetings. And then in the week preceding this attack, he ended up attempting to go to one of the schools that had suspended him, literally wearing the same clothing that he wore on the day of the attack. And basically the only reason why it was prevented from him attacking the school that he used to go to, which is emblematic since he was obsessed with school shooters, was that his dad actually stopped him from getting in a taxi on the way there. He was trying to get into a taxi and trying to go there, and his dad like prevented him from going. And that's noteworthy because on the day of the attack in Southport, he followed the exact same pattern. Like, neighbors said that they saw him patrolling around the area like alone at 6 a.m. And they're like, we never see this kid. What the hell is he doing? And then he ended up getting a taxi to go to this event where he attacked these girls. And in my reading about how this was allowed to happen and how the system failed, it was partially because although there's two main things that I took away from what I was reading, is that he had been referred to Prevent 3 times, but Prevent was not communicating with local police, and local police did not have access to like his Prevent file. Like, only counterterrorism people are supposed to have access to the Prevent file. And so there was a problem there. And the other main problem about why he fell through the cracks is because when he was assessed by Prevent previously, they did not find that he had a consistent ideology. They're like, oh yeah, this kid has really concerning behaviors. He is violent. He is menacing people. He's been, obsessed with having knives on him since he was 13. And he's obsessed with all this extreme violence. He's obsessed with any atrocity under the sun, basically, and his detailed knowledge of it. But it didn't have the only thread was that he was obsessed with atrocity. Like, he didn't seem to be like ascribing to Islamism. He was even obsessed with the IRA. He didn't seem to have any particular allegiance to what's the word? Like a far right, or maybe like an anti-Semitic.
He just wants to kill.
Yeah, like it didn't seem like, oh, he had an anti-Semitic ideology that was inspiring his violence. Like, he was just obsessed with mass violence and atrocities, and had been voicing his interest in killing people since he was like 13. And because there wasn't a consistent ideology, they kind of like dismissed his case.
Right. So it's fair to say that this is not terrorism, This guy was just insane.
Yeah.
This guy, and it's also fair to say that this is not Islamic.
That's my
I mean,
understanding.
I think, yeah. I mean, he did have an ISIS manual, but it doesn't seem like he had it because of the ideological agreements that he had with them. He was just using a manual. He probably had the manual as a how-to guide, and like, oh, these people seem to know what they're talking about and how to carry out such an attack, right? So yeah. This is neither. And again, but by the way, guys, when we say it's not terrorism, it's not dismissing how horrifying and how disgusting and how evil it is. Something could be evil, horrifying, and still not meet the definition of terrorism. It could even be worse than many acts of terrorism, but still not be categorized as terrorism, right? So just please understand, when you say that something is not terrorism, you're not dismissing the intensity and the evilness of it. It just doesn't fit the meaning of terrorism. This seems to be more of an mental. Again, when I say a mental illness issue, I don't want to make it seem like mental illness makes you do most mentally ill people don't do stuff like this. A certain type of mental illness maybe that causes people to do such thing. So it's not, again, hashtag not all mentally ill people. But yeah, so this is not Islamic, and it's not terrorism. But again, it's still a failure of the system, though, right?
Oh, obviously.
It's obviously a huge failure of the system. Yeah.
And I don't know, there's some things I want to reply to in the chat. So Dwayne is saying, good breakdown, Susie. Oh, thank you. Have you seen the analysis that there was a sexual motive behind Axel's massacre? I have seen no mention of that. What I thought was interesting was some of the victim statements that were given, including the victim statement of the survivor of the attack, who was one of the teachers of the dance class. She basically said that we were attacked because we are women and girls, and because we're vulnerable. Like, that's why we were targeted. So I mean, maybe you could cast that as like a sexual motive. I mean, like sex-based motive. I mean, this human excrement, like I can't get over this. I'm sorry, I can't get over this. He stabbed BB King 122 times. One of the girls was stabbed 122 times. I need people to understand, like, the forensic psychology going on here. Like, this kind of attack, there are many. How attacks happen tells you a lot about the psychology of the perpetrator. You know, there are some forms of attack that are very disembodied. They're less personal. For example, a strangulation is a deeply personal, up close, intimate form of violence. To commit a strangulation. So and stabbing and knife crime falls into that sphere. It is so, you have to be so committed to attack again and again and again and again. The level of rage, the level of violence is incomprehensible to me. The psychology of someone who is in such a frenzy that one single victim, not even the other ones, one single victim is stabbed 122 times, a 6-year-old girl. Like, this is a level of mentality that is incomprehensible to me. I just know that it exists. You know what I mean? This is the level of monster that was barely contained beneath the surface of this kid. That all of a sudden it just broke out because he was so obsessed with this violence had such an extreme bloodlust. And Peter is asking, is there any workable treatment against this kind of obsession of violence? I mean, one of the things I can't say on YouTube, but basically, like, I just think these people need to be institutionalized. Just like throw them in a room and throw away the key. You can't fix this. You literally can't fix this. He'd been having issues since he was 13. Because he's so autistic and volatile, there was no getting to him. He would be completely honest and almost childlike in just expressing his motives. He's like, well, what should I do if I want to kill someone? And they like have no remorse and no insight into why that's unacceptable. Like no empathy.
How did they? I don't understand how they didn't stop somebody who clearly communicated so many times that he wants to kill somebody. Like, what else? If you can't stop this guy, like, then what the hell? Like, this should have been I don't know, maybe I don't understand how these systems are supposed to work, but it seems like if this guy gets away with murder, then anybody can get away with murder. I mean, this guy was constantly broadcasting his intentions to one day do such a thing.
No, but part of Prevent's failings was that they were like, oh, well, he's neurodivergent and needs to be assessed. And so, like, we need to figure that out. Dude, I don't care. I don't care like what kind of learning disabilities you have or whatever, how neurodiverse you are. Like if you're expressing this kind of shit, like you need to be put away. I don't care. You know, speaking of, I don't know if people know this, but we have like a transgender murder cult operating, like highly autistic transgender murder cult operating across the US right now. I've been going on a deep dive on that in the past week. So just look up that, by the way. Like, you know.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Say that again? I demand, people are saying I demand an explanation. Amir is
there is a murder cult of committed, like seemingly highly autistic ideologically committed transgender people that are committing a string of murders.
Can we cover that? Can we cover that? Can we please cover that? It's ideological enough for us to cover. Yes, let's cover that next week.
I need to understand a lot more, and I don't know how much we can understand, but I'm gonna try.
Yeah, let's cover that next week. I want to see, because I think we need to cover that.
Yeah. That's been breaking my brain as of the past few days.
So regarding this story, Steve is saying, I don't know if this is regarding saying Armin, he has been attending mosques in Belmarsh prison, at least 2 witnesses. Okay, I mean, I have attended mosques. I've attended mosques as an ex-Muslim. I've been to mosque when I was in Tel Aviv. I went to mosque when I was in London.
No, I mean,
I went to mosque when I was in Sydney. I mean, I don't know. The guy might have been, I don't know. Maybe I can't rule anything out, but that's not enough evidence. Maybe he was there just thinking like, oh, these Muslims know how to kill.
I've seen no credible sources talk about this.
Right.
I mean, there were rumors that he had been beaten. There were rumors going around that he had been beaten to a pulp within prison, and then the authorities came out and said that that's not true. So I wouldn't believe everything you hear. Also, to be honest, even if he does go, it's probably because he just like appreciates the violence.
That's what I was saying. Maybe he was there like, oh, these people seem violent enough. Let me see if they have any tips for me. Not because maybe he went there not because of the Islam, but because of guidance on how to commit violence. So we don't know. Like, yeah, maybe it was just like, maybe he was just profiling Muslims as properly violent people that I could learn something from. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, in prison.
Gajan gave a super chat saying Charles Whitman was a mass deleter and found to have a brain tumor. Would you ever considered AI-guided lobotomies with brain implants so they stop? Okay, so the Charles Whitman thing is like such a unique scenario. I could be wrong, but I have never heard of an event like what happened with Charles Whitman happening again with another mass shooter. That was like a very unique and bizarre case. So I don't know if we can like generalize based off of what he did. I believe that was I forget. I know the details. I can't remember where it happened in the US. So would you ever consider AI guided lobotomies with brain implants so they'd stop?
I mean, we're not experts. I mean, we need to figure out like if the scientific community, if the medical advances. I mean, I would appeal to the experts to that point. If they say whatever they say, if technology gets to a point where they could fix this, and then the medical community says yes, we should go with this, I'm gonna like, well, they know more than I do, so whatever they say. I mean, if they're so I think like this requires some expertise and knowledge that me and Susie don't have, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right now, I mean, at least in the US, we just pump them full of drugs so that they're a zombie. Is there anything wrong with
I mean,
just do that?
I don't know if like, that medical procedure is what we need, but I'm almost certain that humanity at some point is going to get into a place where all form of mental illnesses have cures. All forms of them. Like we're going to get into eventually we're going to get to a place where everybody is mentally the best that they could be. So I think we will get there at some point. Oh, we got Jean gave us some chat with celebrating her 11-month membership. Do you want to read this one?
Oops. Jean is saying, I would love Susanna to cover the trans cult. Okay, well, I need to go learn a lot more before I bring it to you guys, because I understand the sequence of events, but I do not understand their ideology yet. It seems to be some sort of like offshoot of some kind of rationalism, but it's not like the rationalism that we understand or like would identify with. I don't know. But I know that they're like radical vegans, and that I think the transgenderism plays into transhumanism a bit. I'm not entirely sure. I need to understand more, but I'm totally open to covering it once I get some clarity.
Carlo is saying in the chat that Armin is stupid. LOL. Just wanted to highlight that. Okay. Let's do the comments that Dee highlighted. Okay, this one.
Yeah, saying it's a shame he wasn't shot by the police on the scene. I mean, I understand why people feel that way. Like there were people calling for him to be hanged, and I'm not even going to say that they're wrong for feeling that way. But I mean, to be honest, like him not being shot by the police has allowed us to get more answers into why this happened, and I feel like that is important for the survivors and for the parents of the victims.
I'm actually very happy that he was not shot dead, because I mean, this guy needs to be studied, I think. I mean, we have to, instead of trying to satisfy our desire for revenge, we have to care more about satisfying our desires for preventing stuff like this happening more. And I know it's difficult not to be, to suppress that need for revenge from somebody who has done something like this. But again, lives of more children being affected by something like this is more important than us getting happy that this guy got what he deserved. So I'm happy that this guy is now available for studying to understand this more, right? Let me know if you disagree with that. This one?
Yeah, this person is saying, how come Islam produces so many psychopaths? Based on current information, I do not believe that this was an Islamic attack. I mean, only in the sense that he had admired the violence of Islamic terrorism. He worshipped that.
Yeah, and also Islam doesn't create psychopaths. The problem with Islam is that it actually takes advantage of people who who are mentally not ill, right? Like Islam doesn't produce psychopaths. Islam convinces people who are mentally not ill to do evil shit. That is why it's such a big problem. I mean, if it was only psychopaths, it wouldn't be that big of a problem because they are such a small percentage of the population. Psychopaths are such a small percentage of population. The fact that it's such a powerful virus to get normal functioning brains to be convinced that something that is evil, that is good, that's why it's such an evil thing. And then this one.
Yeah, saying the girl's family will pay for his life via taxes. And I mean, I understand why this is like, what's the word I'm looking for?
Oh, wow. That's very...
like untenable for people. But
yeah,
it is the reality.
Right.
So let's go to the last news. And this is very, I don't know, I find this so interesting. And very nerdy, but we like that here.
Oh, yes. Yes, this is actually juicy. I like this one. All right. Clappable?
Yes.
Yes. I mean, it's like, clap. Yes. Next news.
Saudi Arabia sells out Mecca to foreigners. Property investments are open. Saudi Arabia is cracking open the financial floodgates to Mecca and Medina, inviting foreign investors to cash in on Islam's holiest cities like never before. In a move that blends economic ambition with religious sensitivity, the kingdom will now allow non-Saudis to invest in real estate firms operating in these sacred sites, though non-Muslims remain banned from direct ownership. With Hajj and Umrah pilgrimages pulling in billions annually, Riyadh is betting big on foreign capital to fuel its Vision 2030 agenda and cut its oil dependence. But is this bold step towards modernization or a controversial sellout of sacred ground? As Bloomberg reports, quote, investor bids for the 12 billion bond exceeded 30 billion, proving that global financiers are hungry for a stake, whether the faithful approve or not. So let me clarify a few things. Okay, so like non-Muslims are still not allowed, like in Mecca. Okay. They're not allowed to own property there. Like directly own property there. They're basically allowed foreign investors. You know, it doesn't even specify like, oh, it could be Muslim foreign investors. No, just foreign investors in general are now able to invest in property firms that exist and operate in the two holy cities. And they made it clear that a foreign national is not allowed to own more than 49% of any of these property firms or investment vehicles. So it's still not majority ownership. Majority ownership is not allowed. Okay. But this is a big change. And you know how I found out about this? I found out about this because Daniel Hakikaju was talking about it on Twitter and said they're trying to turn Mecca and Medina into Las Vegas. And I was like, oh, what is he complaining about? Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
So, Armin, for people that are not familiar, like, break it down. Why is this shocking, even if it's still not direct property? It's still not, majority ownership. But this is causing a bit of a stir.
Oh, my God. I think more than a bit. This is the place that Muhammad promised that would be cleansed of non-Muslims. This is the reason why when you're driving towards Mecca, the highways signs tells you that if you're a non-Muslim, you cannot go, you have to take the exit because you're getting too close to Mecca because of Muhammad's promise. on his deathbed that I would rid this land of basically Christians and Jews and everyone else. Like they would not be here, right? And this is a huge violation of that. And honestly, Susie, I know some people might think I'm exaggerating, but this is game over. This is the first chapter of the end, to be honest. The greatest tool we have against ideologies is the market. Nothing will be able to stand in front of the power of the market.
Look, you're not lying.
Right. Liberalism, one of the most powerful weapons that liberalism has is capitalism. And Islam has no shot against this. This is basically opening the door to a force that nothing, including Islam, cannot stand in front of. They are going to get crushed by this slowly and slowly. I promised you guys that we will see one day, I don't know if in our lifetime or not, but we will have a gay pride parade around the Kaaba. You'd see those black drapes around the Kaaba. It will one day, those drapes will one day be, I mean, I don't know anymore if we would want, but it will be the rainbow drapes around the Kaaba at some point. Once we fix the LGBT movements from what it's becoming right now, but what it goes back to the liberal values that it was once advocating for, we will also take over the Kaaba. Yeah, maybe we will have a rave or something, right? So this is it. I mean, this is just the beginning. Because when money gets involved, again, Muslims might want to pretend that they care about the akhirah, but Muslims are humans. And once you get the opportunity to live better lives, to prosper, to grow, it is just too tempting to just live better lives. You know, Iblis is more powerful. The whispers of Iblis in your ear are just too much more powerful than the revelations of Allah. Okay? Especially, I never get it how Iblis has direct access to our ears, but God, with all his power, has to go through a prophet. I don't know why he cannot just whisper in our ears as well.
That's a good point. I never thought about it like that.
Yes. So yeah, the you know, once people start, so this is the beginning, and once people making money off of it, once there's businesses established based on this now availability of this, then those businesses are now going to see other opportunities there, that regulations eventually will bend the knee to what is required for the market to grow. So if there are other barriers for investment, eventually, give it enough time, those barriers, those Islamic barriers, will also be removed at some point. You just have to give it enough time. I don't know how much time, but this is just the beginning of the end, in my opinion.
Oh, and if people don't understand, it's this type of stuff, which is why Islamists, like the British Islamists we were talking about earlier in the stream, like absolutely despise the Saudi government. Like, yes. I don't know if people understand the anti-Saudi sentiment that exists in the broader global Muslim community. I mean, Armin could speak to that better, but I feel like,
yeah, I mean, and that's
we're gonna freak out.
What that helps us. That helps us, okay? Because the Islamic community hates Mohammed bin Salman so much, and the more they hate him, the more they express their hate from him, and whatever the whole Saudi people are doing, and the more they are called Zionists, the more these people are going to get frustrated with them, and the more they're going to be encouraged to just run towards the other side, because the experience these people are having with the Islamic community is not an experience that suggests that if they change their way, they will be forgiven and accept them back. So you already have lost them forever. So instead of appeasing them, they're going to be like, okay, why do I not just double my speed running in the other direction? Okay. I mean, that makes only sense. I mean, Mohammed bin Salman just officially told the United States foreign minister back then during Biden's administration that, yeah, we don't give a shit about the Palestinian cause. Like, he actually, well, he didn't say it exactly like that, but he mentioned that this is not an issue for them, right? I mean, the only reason why they pretend like they care about it is because they don't want an Islamic revolution happening in Saudi Arabia, right? And again, they're not doing this because these are good people, just to be honest. This is happening because of green energy. Like, this is why solar energy, nuclear fusion, maybe one day, I don't know. This is basically going to help us out so much, because these people, if they don't adapt to the new modern reality of the, of how the economies of the future is going to work, Saudi Arabia is just going to go bankrupt immediately. This is not out of sympathy for people. This is out of desperation, because they have seen the writing on the wall, and they're like, yeah, this is like our economy. 80% of their government's budget is based on oil sales. I mean, look at how fast solar panels prices are dropping. Like, they have faster than anybody could anticipate. If we keep going like this, oil prices are going to just drop like a rock. And I don't know what Saudi Arabia is going to do back if this whole vision 2030 is a desperation for surviving, for just remaining relevant. I mean, if these people, if they cannot find a way to survive economically, there are enough people in Saudi Arabia that would want to chew these people, like chew their neck out. Like, so they're very, very afraid, and they need to diversify their economy out of fossil fuels immediately, like yesterday. And it's not happening as fast as they want. So this is out of desperation, but it's working in our favor. It's working in our favor. This is the beginning of the end.
Do you think there will be a breaking point for the domestic population, though? Because I see a lot of dissatisfaction online.
I mean, either way,
I don't know how
reflective
it is, but
yeah, I mean, Islamically, I mean, I don't want this stability, so I hope they manage to figure it out. But either way, this is like Islam. This is like I'm sure, looking back 50 years from now, almost sure that we're gonna be like, yep, these were the days that was the end of all of this nonsense was starting. But Mazak, you have no idea what you're talking about. Mazak is saying solar stuff doesn't work, bro. You have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. You have no idea what you're talking about. Solar is, the advancements in solar technology is surprising even the most optimistic people. So I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm a sim for nuclear, though.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I like all of them.
Nuclear
Anything
sim.
that is not. Yeah, I'm also hopeful. I don't know about how optimistic we need to be about fusion, but if fusion eventually works, then that's the end of it. Then energy will, the price of energy is going to be it's going to be like so cheap. Everyone is going to have access to what we today would consider unlimited energy. So
part of me is tempted to invest in one of these property firms, like just buy one share just for like the meme.
Yeah, no investment. This is no investment advice, guys. Go do your own research. Okay.
Just buy one share for the meme. Say that I did. Okay. Oh, and should we go through the comments that D found?
Yes. So this one.
So an American first nationalist. Okay, so I'm getting immediate anti-Semitism vibes. Saying, guess who will buy it? Jewish investor.
He's not wrong, because at the end of the day, the world's largest companies have major Jewish investors. And this is going to be fantastic for us, because whatever company is going to be involved in these investments, these anti-Zionist idiots are going to be able to draw a link between the money that is coming in and Jewish people, and they're like, Zionists are now own our holiest sites. The Saudis have opened Zionist ownership over our. So if apparently Jerusalem was not enough for you, and now you're coming out for our main holiest site. So this is great, and again, it's going to turn them anti-Saudi, and that division is going to benefit us. Yes, so there's that. And then let's go lower. This one. Oh yeah, this guy agrees with me. But he's saying the end is near, subhanallah. However, I think the end he's talking about is different from the end I'm talking about. He thinks that this is a sign of the end of times as a whole for the whole world. I think this is just the beginning of the end of Islam, not the whole world. And then this one.
Al-Assad have sold the Ummah to the devils. May Allah forgive us for our weakness and inability to throw these bastards out and protect our sanctuaries. Ya Allah, I'm free from this. Please don't count me among them.
Oh, okay. Oh, this is beautiful. I love it. Okay, let's do the super chats really quickly before we go.
Okay, so we've got a super chat from Shit Channel for you. Thank you for the generous super chat. Saying, sorry for being too late. What did I miss? Well, you missed a lot. I ain't gonna lie.
Yes.
Go back and watch and make sure to like. In fact, Flying Robot Duck says, we are 20 likes shy of 500. Like this stream if you haven't already. Thank you for the reminder, Flying Robot Duck. And everyone follow that advice. And also, we have a lot of people watching us on Twitter right now. Hundreds of people watching us on Twitter. Come over to YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. I swear it's worth it. It's so much better.
Can I just thank people for liking this live stream so much that it really brings in the reason why there are more people here watching is because you guys liked it a lot. So thank you so much for all the people who liked it. That's a large number of likes. Thank you.
The second shaitan is saying, say it will be the end of Islam. If so, yay.
Second shaitan. I love that idea.
I don't think it'll be that simple, but things are changing drastically.
Yes. It's the beginning. Okay.
Dan is saying, who is your favorite god, even though none are real?
Athena.
That's a good question. I think Agni was pretty cool. I was really into Greek mythology when I was a kid. Who did I like the most? I liked Poseidon a lot.
Oh yeah.
I thought Poseidon was pretty cool. And Dan also said, Saudi's soft power is Islam. Millions of people contribute to their economy by participating in silly Hajj rituals. They ain't gonna give it up.
Yeah, you don't have to give it up. You just need to secularize it like Christians secularize Christmas. Don't need to give it up. Just slowly make it less and less Islamic.
I mean, there are like hundreds of pilgrimages that people do across different Christian countries still to this day.
Yeah.
Dan gave another super chat saying Jews will retake Mecca. Retake? What? Oh, I think you have to be making a joke. After all, that is the palace Abraham came to build the Kaaba. Oh, okay, you are making a joke. Finally, Jews return in Arabia after 1400 years.
That's good.
That's right. Finally.
Oh, that was the last one. Okay, fantastic.
Yes, that was the last
one. Guys, I really appreciate today. We got a lot of likes. Today we got a lot of super chats. Oh, we got just one more.
Dan gave another super chat saying space colonization will end religion. I disagree. Like, I don't.
The only thing that can end religion. The only thing that will ever end religion is for humans to evolve into something that is not human at some point.
Yeah, to be honest.
But yes. So guys, make sure you like the stream. Make sure you leave a comment. Make sure you're subscribed. People who are watching us on X, come over, do the hijrah, do a migration from X to YouTube and subscribe to us. Search for Atheist Republic on YouTube. Yeah, we will call it the Great Hijrah. because a lot of people watch us on X. Come here and watch us on YouTube. Subscribe to us here, and also make sure you hit the bell notification. Guys, we appreciate all the financial support that we got today. Just remember, only people who are financially secure should financially support us. Everyone else, just make sure you like and comment and hit the bell notification. For people who are financially secure, consider becoming a YouTube member. We're trying to get to 1,000 members, and if Atheist Republic gets to 1,000 YouTube members, a lot of our financial issues will be completely resolved. So please get us there to 1,000. And also, I will do more live streams in the meantime, but Susie will be here back next week with maybe that story that you guys asked for. Maybe not. We'll see how much time she has to investigate that.
The
But if you want to see
murder
more
cult?
streams, the transgender murder cult, yes. So yes, just make sure you're subscribed for that. Anyways, guys, thank you everybody, and till next stream. Bye bye.